Life has changed significantly over the last few months, and it's meant more time at home. For NASCAR, home is near Charlotte, North Carolina. In the virtual world, a trip to the Carolinas is no closer than one to California or Florida, but the month of May still means a trip to this 1.5-mile oval in Concord. Tonight's race is a Feature 4 event for the ERSCA PristineAuction.com series, with a payout to the race winner. It'll be a grueling night, 175 laps right here on SimTV. Corey Silva and Brandon Kreutz are out tonight with computer issues, but they'll be back next week. We have 5 races remaining in the regular season, tonight at Pocono in 2 weeks, then Darlington, Las Vegas, and North Wilkesboro. The 5-race chase looms at the end, finishing off the season in Atlanta. It's a trip around the nation for ERSCA in 2020 and 175 trips around Charlotte tonight. My name is Kyle Heyer, joined tonight by Mitch Welker and special guest Ralph Shaheen. He'll be joining us for the first portion of this race. Ralph, welcome to SimTV and to your first ever virtual broadcast.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to doing this. I've been a part of races at Charlotte for many years, live here in the Charlotte area, and have called many races around the big 1.5 mile here in Charlotte. So I'm really looking forward to being a part of this here tonight.
All right, thanks, Ralph. And we got Mitch Welker here tonight as well. His first time on a SimTV broadcast. Mitch, welcome. We kind of got a skeleton crew in here tonight with Brandon and Corey's computer issues, but welcome to the booth. 175 laps, the longest race of the season. Your thoughts on this race tonight?
Well, looking forward to it for sure. Coming from the fuel side, I've driven this car plenty over this season, so it'll be interesting to see how this works at Charlotte, because our next race at Charlotte as well, actually tomorrow night, I believe, is our Charlotte, almost the same length. So it'd be cool to see a bit of a test run here to see what things look like.
Yeah, there's a lot of comparisons between the two series, both running the 2020 Xfinity Series NASCAR platforms. And with 30 seconds left in practice, we've got about a 5-minute qualifying session coming up. We have a long race tonight, Ralph. Qualifying is always important at these 1.5 mile races, especially on the Cup Series side. But the Xfinity cars still have that lower downforce platform, a little bit less power, but qualifying still going to be paramount to getting a good run tonight.
Well, the good thing about 175 laps is if you don't get a great qualifying run, you certainly have time to get back towards the front of it, time to dial the ride in and make something happen. But you're going to have to be good with your tires, just get to the front and stay there in a very long race.
Yeah, tire management's always something that we have to worry about in these cars, especially with Charlotte. Of course, this track, you can run all the way up to the wall if you'd like. I think Mitch will probably see drivers more towards the bottom of the racetrack, but I'm curious what the qualifying is going to look like here in just a moment. Of course, we have our points leader that is going to be out here tonight, but Joshua Adams, we have to talk about him for a second, Mitch, because he comes in here after winning at Daytona at the beginning of the season. He can win a $100 bonus by winning all 4 of the Feature 4 races. This is one of those races tonight, so Josh Adams can go and collect that extra bit of prize money tonight in that 95.
For sure, he's the one eligible for the 100 as it stands at the moment, because there's only been one of these 4 races happening. Also sitting second in points, just 9 points behind Scott Crump. So a big night tonight can mean a real big payout for money and a real big payout for points.
So qualifying just underway here, and we're looking at Sean Dice right now in the number 87, just getting up to speed here. Ralph, we're on the Be Your Own Hero, Brave Like Wyatt onboard cameras. We exit turn number 4. Charlotte's changed a lot over the years, but one thing hasn't really changed. It's very, very fast around here.
It is an extremely fast racetrack. I've been fortunate to have the opportunity to drive it a handful of times myself. And it is a wild ride, especially through the corners. You can really feel that downforce working on the cars. You cut to the onboard here to give a view. As you head down this back straightaway, it's so fast, headed into turn number 3. Got to breathe it just a little bit, then get right back into the gas as you power off the 4 here. You got to aim towards the flag stand and then arc it back in, and then head down towards turn 1.
And so Sean Dice will come on through. That lap time, a 30.868. Mitch, will probably see lap times increase, or actually, I guess, fall on the second lap. Again, the new tire here in iRacing seems to get better as the night goes on, at least for the first couple laps, and then it falls off kind of midway through the run. So are we expecting a quicker lap 2 in qualifying here?
I think I would. Besides a couple of anomalies I've seen during the fuel season, at least, it has been faster the second lap, get more heat in the tires. Just kind of sticks a little better, you know? You know, drive it in a little harder and make it
And there's about a 10th up for Dice that time through a 30.762. Good enough for 15th for the time being. Nick Massey jumps to the top of the board in his number 48 car. He'll spin up the exit at turn 2, but his lap of 30.419, that's going to be tricky to beat. We got over 30 cars in here tonight, which is going to be a fairly sizable field, especially for the opening couple laps. Ralph, every time you come to one of these races, especially these 1.5 mile tracks, things get very congested on the opening laps. A long race like this, where's your mindset when you're pulling onto the grid? Are you looking at this as a long race, or are you looking at short stints between the fuel runs? How aggressive are you going to be at the start of this race?
Well, I think you have to think of it as a long race, even though there are shorter stints with the fuel runs. But especially the early stages of this event, it is such a long night that you cannot get in there and go crazy in those opening few laps. You've got to find your spot, get in your groove, and settle in, and then find your way to the front. If you're starting at the front of the field, well, that's a whole little bit of a different story. Maybe turn the whip up a little bit on the opening laps and see if you can't grab one of the top 3 spots and settle in from there. But if you're back in the pack, you got to be real cautious of everybody around you. The last thing you want to do is damage that race car early on and have such a long night in front of you.
And we saw that quite a bit last week. We had our All-Star Race event at Myrtle Beach. That was a night full of carnage and spins and crashes, but now that we've got everybody cleaned up and calmed down for a points-paying event tonight, I think longevity and keeping the car in one piece is going to be very, very important. So just about a minute left in qualifying. Massey's still the best on the racetrack right now as we pick up Tate Lytle in this 56 car. And this is another driver, Mitch, that's been pretty solid this season. He's got the Prop Me car tonight, the number 56 Camaro, as he exits turn number 4.
Yeah, not a bad season for him so far. Probably over for a good finish tonight for sure. I'm trying to pick him up on my my own display here. There he is. Taylor.
Looks like that time didn't count. Maybe you got a piece of the wall at the exit at turn number 4, so I think that's going to invalidate that time. He'll have to come back around. Oh, no, this was actually an outlap, so this will be his first time through. And sector line at the back straightaway, 15.1, so looking at about a mid 30-second lap, which will put him near the top of the board as he exits turn number 4. And across the start-finish line to complete this lap, what's it going to be? A 30.451. Good enough for, looks like it'll be third place. Yes, it is. So Tate Lytle jumps to third.
Sorry there. And then the tires are going to, oh, looks like he's backing out of this one, actually.
Yeah, he'll back off and drop into on the back straightaway on the apron. So 20 seconds left. Looks like Nick Massey's time will stand. As the last 4 drivers in the field will elect not to qualify. So 33 drivers lined up for the start of this one, and we're just about ready to go racing tonight for 175 laps in the ERSCA PristineAuction.com series presented by SimTV. So we'll head down to the racetrack. We'll go over weather and starting grid information here in just a second. But our fuel run tonight, about 55 laps. So again, conserving fuel isn't really going to be an issue until we get to that last stint. We'll kind of check in, see where things are. If this race goes green from start to finish, it'll take us about an hour and a half, which is quite a long one tonight. So down to the racetrack, let's have a look at our weather this evening. 84 degrees ambient, track surface 87. Ralph, I guess that's not too hot for a racetrack. It could be a whole lot worse. And we're going to race into the nighttime here.
That's a beautiful night, especially this time of year. I've done a lot of races there in May when the humidity was through the
with track
digits and just wear the drivers out. So today, with the track surface at 87 degrees and 84 at the ambient, no wind, I think it's a beautiful.
It sure is. We're losing you just there a little bit there, Ralph, but all good. So time right now just after, looks like 6 o'clock here on the East Coast as they line up for the start of this race. So we'll head down. And again, my name's Kyle Heyer, joined by Mitch Welker and Ralph Shaheen here in the booth as we get lined up for the start of this 175-lap race. Couple keys to tonight. Long green flag run's going to be a big deal tonight, Mitch. Conserving tires, conserving fuel, all those things are going to matter. But I'm not sure if we're going to see a lot of yellows tonight. We've seen a lot of these races in ERSCA this year go pretty green. Your thoughts, your expectations? How does Charlotte typically race with this car?
Races pretty well. I'd say maybe expect 1 or 2 cautions at the start, just let everyone sort themselves out, and then we'll go pretty long green from there, I believe. So I think with those cautions at the start, you can from there on you can probably run a 2-stop race from that point. If you go past lap 10, I think it would be 65. Yeah, about a 2-stop race from there. So hopefully it goes green from the first couple of cautions. We can have some good green flag stop cycles and see how things work with that.
Your starting lineup is rolling across the bottom of your screen right now. Nick Massey, Tyler Riggs sharing that front row as they head through turns 1 and 2. One of the things that always strikes me every time we come here, Ralph, is the banking around Charlotte Motor Speedway. This place is high banked, and I think that contributes a lot to the speed around here. But it's also kind of a treacherous racetrack as well. If you lose grip, you go up the hill, that's a hard hit up there in the safer barrier.
Oh, it is for sure. You are definitely going to be carrying a tremendous amount of speed down into the corners, going down into 1 and going down into 3. It feels like an extremely fast racetrack when you're behind the wheel staring out the windshield. And you know, and one little thing goes wrong, it's going to...
Down the back straightaway into turn number 3, coming to the green flag this time. 35, actually we got 36 or 37 drivers lined up on the start of this one from all over the country. We've been locked at home in the COVID-19 pandemic, but hopefully things will return to normal. NASCAR certainly has last weekend with return to Darlington, and we're heading to Darlington right here in a few weeks. But tonight, it's all Charlotte home track action for ERSCA series as we exit turn number 4, coming to the green flag tonight for 175 laps right here on Sim TV. Massey brings him down. Green flag flies in racing. The second place starter already in the wall as we head to the green flag.
Yeah, Riggs, he's got completely just right under the wall, possibly spun up the rears. Not something you normally see, but it's caught him.
Yeah, that's a bad way to start off the night, Ralph. Just spun up those rear tires. It's so easy to do that. As he's going to spin behind him as the 84 sideways, and the 44's drag might will get into him. We're still green now. The caution flies on lap number 1. There's a big mess on the back straightaway.
The 53 and the 95 and the 50 I see there.
And the 33 gets tripped up and over. He's upside down. That is the 33 of Logan Shea. What a mess.
That's incredible.
I haven't seen a start like that in a really long time, but the 33 of Shea up and on his roof. And that's about as bad as it gets there, Ralph, on lap number 1.
Yeah, that's exactly what you don't want to do. Such a long night, and to are all torn up that early on, it is definitely not what your crew chief is going to want to hear.
Okay, so it actually started with the 53 and the 8. They were the first ones that got turned around. The 33 gets kind of hooked at the end here and just very slowly gets kind of knocked up and over. Reminds me a lot of the flip that Casey Mears had at Fontana in 2008. Where he just kind of got rolled over at the very last second. But I think it started, we got to go back, it was Brandon Key in the 53 car. We'll look from up above, and he's the white car in the middle of the screen. Let's see what happens. Oh, it's actually the 22 and the 8 that got together. That's what triggered this whole thing. Wow.
Yeah, you know, that's when you're coming off a 2 like that, you're deep into the throttle. You should be flat out at that point, hoping the thing hooked up. And if the guy in front of you just didn't go as fast as you did, a lot of times when you're in that tight pack on the opening lap, there's a lot of congestion and so many people right behind you that you develop a situation like that. It's a real shame.
And that's going to take out a bunch of cars, at least competitively. The 33 is called the night already, and we'll head back live here as it looked like Strackbine was rolling down into pit lane with fairly significant... actually, it doesn't look too bad on the right front of that Camaro. He should be able to get it repaired, but a very slow start to that one and kind of a messy one. Lots of cars in the pit lane getting service here, Mitch, as there's the 8 car of Lafferty, who was the car that originally got turned around.
Yeah, I took notice of the 50 car being involved in that. He's 5th in points. He needed a good night tonight to secure his spot in the chase, but it really hasn't gone that way.
Yeah, it's Joe Francis in the number 50. So he started 15th all the way down in 30th. And earlier, Ralph, you mentioned keeping the car together and not having any damage. Well, I think about 10 or 12 cars now have some fairly significant damage to their race cars. So that's going to be a long night from here with 172 to go.
Well, and that's the problem, because now instead of being able to race for the win, you might just be racing for points. And with that long of a night in front of you, well, it's a rough day and a rough way to earn your paycheck.
Certainly is. So we've got 29th on back in pit lane still. So Tyler Riggs, who was our second place starter, and Mitch, he spun up the rear tires. It's so easy to do. And he went around and got into the wall. But maybe that, I'm not sure if it saved him or helped him, because he probably would have been ahead of that incident regardless had he not made that mistake. But still some damage to repair on the 26.
Yeah, but not as bad as the guys that were in the wreck for sure. He's got some right front. It's going to hurt his aero. Maybe a car will get a little pushy later in the run, but he can still compete pretty decently.
All right, so the 1 to green has already been given by the pace trucks. The lights have extinguished atop the Chevrolet Silverado pace truck, and we're going to re-rack him, restack him, try this again. Chris Wright going to be up there on the outside, and that's actually 2 of the Wingman sports cars side by side here, Ralph. So it looks like the sponsors getting their money's worth tonight as they're both their team cars on the top row for the restart.
Well, we'll see if the drivers realize they need to work together here.
That's something you can always do on the restarts. You know, at places like Martinsville, you might have the outside driver kind of choose to be the leader and have the inside guy let you in. I'm not sure we'll see that sort of cooperation quite yet, but right behind him, Tate Lytle in the 56. We talked about him during qualifying. Then there's Scott Crump in the 51. He's got the lead Toyota Supra in the field right now. Then behind him, it's Johnny Thomas in the 83, Kenny Lowry, and Isabella, Pettit, Thomas, and Patton, who started 19th. He gained 9 spots, move his way up into 10th for the restart here as we roll through turns 3 and 4. Let's try this again and see if we can get through a lap this time. This field has gone green for most of the races this season. There's been a couple incidents here and there, a couple messy nights, but so far not so good for this. We'll try it again as they exit turn number 4. Flagman has the green flag in hand. Massey and Wright controlling the restart. Green flag back in the air.
Looks like a clean start this time. Nobody spinning up the tires and nosing into the wall.
It's on the 53. Brandon Key kind of catch the apron there, Mitch, on the exit of turn number 2, but he's going to keep it straight. They'll rock it down the back straight into turn 3, Ralph.
Yeah, it looks like the outside was the way to be at that start. Carried a lot more momentum through 1 and 2 and takes over the lead.
Oh, trouble behind him again. And more crashes. This time Patton in turn number 4. That's another big incident. And there's another car that's wrapped up, the 91, the 87. Oh, man. This is not going the way that we wanted it to go, guys. This is.
Oh, man.
They've been doing so well this season, and it's all going downhill. This time, our second caution on lap number 6.
Well, you know, one of the challenges when you're racing at a place like Charlotte is looking far enough ahead. The racetrack was certainly blocked by quite a few cars over there coming off of 4. But you really have to look far ahead when you're deep in the pack and do your best to avoid that when it's in front of you. Some of those guys in the back, you would think, should have had enough time to slow the race car down if they'd been given enough warning.
Yeah,
still piling in way late.
Right on board with the 87. I believe that was Sean Dice that came into this mess. We'll ride on board. And we'll ride on board from the gyro cam here to see how much of his vision was obscured by the top of that roll cage. But the sun in the eyes, maybe, but he just tried to shoot the gap here, Ralph, and the hole just closed.
Yeah, that one is, you know, there's not much you can do there. He tried to get over the hole, and the 3 car just came down in his way. There was a few other guys way back in the pack that just, you got to look ahead. You got to see what's going on in front of you.
And already there's the mess. And Mitch is just, there's so many cars. Look at the 26 there. Our second place started trying to miss it. Some drivers went for pit lane. The 20 car went down there and still ran into a car. What a mess.
Yeah, I mentioned Patton there, or not Patton, sorry. The 26. I forget who was it in the 26 there. Who spun up the tires in the start?
Tyler Riggs in the 26.
Riggs, yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, not a great start to the night for him, that's for sure. That's 2 incidents in, 7 laps now. So hopefully he can get it fixed and get it back going at a decent rate.
We're going to have to try this again for the 3rd time. Maybe 3rd time's the charm here tonight as Johnny Parham has left the racetrack, so it looks like his night will be done. So Massey and Lytle now controlling the race with Chris Wright in 3rd, Crump in 4th. But I think really, you know, we talked about long green flag runs. I was expecting that. Well, maybe not, Ralph. It seems like the trouble's been here early. Is it just a comfort thing? I mean, the drivers were practicing plenty earlier. I mean, how long does it take for those tires to really come into their comfort zone, or should they be good right out of the gate?
Well, sometimes it's just up to the driver, and it's not the fault of the tire. Sometimes their guys are just a little bit aggressive early on, and maybe they're not prepared to get in the right mindset for 175 laps. It's a definite different mindset than more of a sprint race.
That's exactly what I saw. I watched the replay, and the 3 car just drove it in really hard in the 3 and got the wall and turned around sideways. I don't know if you caught that, Kyle, on the live feed.
Yeah, he just got up into turn number 3 and just ran up the hill. And I think he had a couple cars was inside that maybe he was just trying to leave enough space, but ran up into the wall and bounced off and didn't quite catch it quick enough before he came down the racetrack and ended up collecting believe it was the 7 of Neil. No, it was the black and teal car. I'm trying to remember. Brian Dorsey, the number 9, was the car that he collected, the O'Connor Brewing Company Ford Mustang. So Dorsey's got that car somewhat repaired. We're going to see how much damage it's got. The front clip, a little bit torn up there. And that front splitter, Ralph, that's such an important area of these race cars nowadays, and it's certainly not helpful to have it all mangled up like that.
Well, aero is such a huge part of whether or not your car is going to handle right. And if your car isn't handling right, you're just going to have a horrific day behind the wheel. And it all starts with that front splitter. It starts at the very front of the car where that splitter just is skimming along above the surface of the racetrack. So if you jack that up, and it ruins the airflow all the way back to that rear spoiler, and your day just is going to be terrible. Well,
Ralph, you've got a lot of experience commentating races from all different kinds of sanctioning bodies. I know you've done some work for IMSA and obviously NASCAR and motocross and that sort of thing. But I'm curious, what race in your mind stands out? I know you've done some well and modified tour stuff as well. What stands out in your mind is the race with the most cautions? I hope we don't break that tonight, but I'm curious as to how many you've seen in your experience.
Oh, outside of this one, huh? Okay. Let's see. Well, I mean, I think a lot of times it tends to be a race that happens on an oval like this. Sometimes not necessarily a bigger oval, but you know, you get guys that are all fired up for some reason, and in oval racing, it's hard to get away from each other. And sometimes, as Darrell Waltrip has so famously said over the years, cautions breed cautions. And sometimes in oval track racing, they tend to find it hard to get away from each other. They seem to have magnets attached to the cars. And it doesn't matter whether it's an open wheel race or a stock car race, sometimes ovals really can lead and breed a lot of cautions. I can't remember one in particular where we just, you know, chewed away the yellow flag lap. But I would tend to say it's probably more of an oval than it would be, say, in Supercross, where we tend to race right through the ovals, and the only time or the yellows, and the only time they tend to stop is if it's a red.
It's so interesting to hear that personal feedback and experience there, Ralph. So appreciate that as we come to restart. Number 2, it'll be lap number 10 this time that we'll try this again. So now it's effectively a 170 or 166 lap race from here on out to the end. So we'll try this again. 3rd time's a charm. Massey, Lytle, Wright, Crump, Thomas, your top 5 as we exit turn number 4. And green flag flies once again. We'll see if he can stay out this time as they cross the start-finish line, Mitch.
Yeah, Massey's sure getting sick of putting cycles on his tires. Hopefully he can stay out front this time. I'm sure he's hoping to have a nice green run to start the race here, get things really going. Looks like people are single filing out back.
There's a couple drivers back there that were kind of fighting for positions with some damaged race cars, but this time I think we made it to the back straightaway. We made it to turn 4 previously. We'll see if we can get all the way back to the stripe this time under green flag conditions. There goes high, the 15 of Dylan Hickey in that beautiful red and blue and white Ford Mustang. Who's going to lose a spot to like Chuck Sweeting, the number 27, so he'll go on through. That's for 12th.
Well, you know, in those first 2 starts, the guys never made it any further than really turn 4, so it's hard to even get any heat in those tires. So now is really the first time you're starting to feel any kind of temperature develop in those tires.
So the temperature is going to be an interesting thing as the night goes on and the lights come on. The track temp's going to drop. We're going to rubber up the racetrack. The grip level is going to vary widely, especially depending on where drivers are running throughout this race. But Massey already pulling out to looks like a 4/10 of a second lead. But for second place, Tate Lytle has the 24 Chris Wright all over his rear bumper as they exit turn number 2.
Now it looks like they've kind of found a little bit of a rhythm. They need to just settle in a little bit, put some laps in, get a feel for the race car, what it's going to do, what the track is going to be like tonight, and then go racing as this thing finally starts to develop its own rhythm.
The exit of turn number 4, lap number 12 complete. We got a couple laps under our belt here, guys. This looks like behind him there's Dylan Thomas in the 03 on the outside of Vincent Isabella. He'll go on by. Actually, that's the 88 car right there in front. Underneath is Damian Leininger, the number 12, and Zishan Dura in the 10, following from 11th.
Looking like if you run the outside, if you can hold the inside car low enough on the exit of a corner at least, then you can possibly make it work. It'll be interesting to see if the top line remains a factor, though Thomas is slipping back a little bit here out of 4.
And one of the things we're just seeing there on the onboard cam there, Ralph, as we see a pass for second place with right on the bottom, is the sun in turns 3 and 4. And this is an issue that you fight at a lot of different racetracks, but that's got to be, even in the sim, a pretty big impact on your visibility through those corners.
No doubt about it. Charlotte we're starting late enough here. It looks like that we're going to get to shadows all the way around the racetrack fairly quickly. You can see it's turning into dust pretty fast. So I think it's going to be okay for these drivers momentarily. They shouldn't have to worry about it, but certainly in those first few laps, and that's maybe one of the areas where all those yellows helped them, that the sun had a chance to go down while we were doing the majority of those yellow laps.
Right in front is Dylan Hickey on the, well, he's battling, looks like Jake Finch behind him. There's Zishan Dira still chasing Dylan Thomas, and I believe that's Chuck Sweeting in the 27. Yes, it is. Chuck running a different paint scheme than we're normally used to seeing him run here on Sim TV. So on the bottom of the racetrack, he will go in 3 and 4. A long way to go in this race here, Mitch, but 15 laps down. We're starting to see people kind of start to separate out, and see qualifying, not really a big deal anymore because everyone got so shaken up those first couple laps.
That's right, yeah. And another thing I've noticed is that those who pitted under the previous caution and maybe saved a little bit under this previous yellow period may have enough to go to the end on 2 stops now, because we've if it went green entirely on a 55-lap fuel run, there'd be a 10-lap cushion at the end where you'd have to slash and dash. But now we just ran 10 laps under yellow, so there's a chance that some of these guys that pit under this previous yellow could be good to the end, possibly if they save just a little bit.
Sure, and saving fuel always a part of racing here in ERSCA, and I think with the long green flag runs that they've typically had in this series, they've gotten pretty good at it. But Nick Massey is out front. He's not saving a lot of fuel out there right now, but you can pace yourself so nicely up at the front here, Ralph. You have control over the race when you're out front, and you're not having to actively chase anybody down. You can kind of go at your own pace and just get that gap and use that to your advantage when you need to save fuel.
Yeah, and he seems to have done that so far, but to the point that was made earlier, some of those guys in the back now that maybe had some minor damage or took advantage of those cautions, that's going to be their only shot to get a win here tonight, is to maybe play a different strategy and let it be a fuel strategy here tonight. Big thing for the race leader now, not so much just to fuel, but make sure he's running a pace that's not abusing those tires.
So 18 laps in. Now here's Vincent Isabella in the number 88. Leininger on the bottom of the racetrack now in the number 12. Side by side into turn number 1. 180 plus miles an hour off into the banking. And still pretty tight through 8th through 10th here is what we're looking at right now as Leininger goes on by. And the 88 now under attack from the 27. So he opens up the hole and looks like a couple of drivers will take advantage there, Mitch.
I see Sweeting now going inside of Isabella, as well as the 10 car, backing up a little bit on the inside, see if they can pull it through. Looks like they will.
Chuck Sweeting started 34th. He's navigated all that chaos and carnage. 34th to 9th. So that's he did a really good job getting through all that opening mess there, Ralph, and moves his way up inside the top 10.
Well, as they always say, when it's trouble for some, it can be a huge opportunity for others. And he apparently took full advantage of that, did a great job of navigating through those messes, and finds himself in the top 10 now in a great spot to have a good run here tonight.
Dylan Hickey on the bottom started 24th. He's up to 13th as Dylan Thomas on the outside. Finch is the yellow and blue car right in front. These two trading spots for 13th place as we complete lap number 20. And looks like Massey's lead is sort of stabilized at 0.4 of a second at the front of the field and might be beginning to fall. Again, that team car, Chris Wright, has worked his way into second, Mitch, and you've got experience from the fuel side of things. Having teammates together is a huge advantage. Maybe not particularly at a track like Charlotte, but we've seen it work. Even at Martinsville, we saw teamwork kind of come into play.
Definitely is a great thing to have. Even on a 1.5 miler like this, you can just kind of work together and maybe keep a third car that's not in your team behind you with the second car. There's a variety of things you can do with teammates being 1 and 2 here. It looks like Chris Wright is running just ever so slightly faster than Nick Massey. Last lap was about 0.02 faster. So catching the 48 here is Chris Wright, and we'll see if maybe he goes for the overtake or he'll just sit back and relax for a little bit.
Here's Kyle and Kenny Lowry, 15th and 16th right now, the 2 and 22. And both of them started, looks like Kyle started 29th, Kenny in 9th. So very opposite days so far. They've kind of coming together very close here, now running both inside the top 20. Kind of inverse paint schemes on these cars. And It also helps to have some friends and some family around you, just like Kyle and Kurt Busch in the Cup Series there, Ralph.
Yeah, certainly if you have somebody that knows your tendencies and you can work together to stay clean and get your way through the traffic. As we're just 23 laps into this thing, boy, there's a lot of racing yet to go.
To the front of the field, Massey's lead is now re-extended about 0.6 of a second. Deeper behind them, though, we've got a couple battles going on as you see Joshua Personette, even with the damage on that number 18 car, working up to the tailpipes of the 2 and 22. And the Garage Guys cars might have to go on the defensive here shortly. And this is something that Darrell Waltrip liked to call co-opetition, and this is something that you saw a lot on the super speedways. And maybe these guys working together to help advance their position and fight around a little bit as you see Kenny Lowry have a look to the inside of Kyle on the front straight. Looks like the bottom has prevailed for the 22, so he'll drop up into 15th place for the time being. As second place is now getting back heated again. Tate Lytle right to the rear bumper of the 24 in turn 2. Drop back a little bit on the back straightaway, but lining up again for that second spot as they come across the line to complete lap number 25, Mitch.
Yeah, gap stabilized now between the 48 and 24. Maybe pulling out a little bit is Nick Massey, realizing the threat from Chris. But we'll see what that does to his tires later on in the run, whether or not he's saving them or pushing a little bit harder than he needs at the moment. The 56 taking a little bit of a look on the 24. Chris Wright here down the back, but he's not going to make it work this time.
Well, Leininger now to the inside of Johnny Thomas. That's a pass for 7th. Leininger's going to push way up the racetrack. He moved up about a half a lane off the bottom. And that's a tricky thing, Ralph, is when you're on the high side to know how much room you need to give the guy on the bottom. You typically expect him to stay right on that blue line, but maybe that's not going to be the case tonight as the tires begin to wear.
Yeah, they're definitely going to start pushing up the racetrack for sure. You can run way up near the top of the wall here at Charlotte. There's definitely 2 very good grooves, and you can make use of a third. It just depends on where you have to go and when you have to go up there during the night and what your car is going to allow you to do. You can make something happen up there if you can get the momentum to work in your favor.
There in the number 5 is Liam Sheen. And he started his night all the way back in 21st. He's climbed up to 8th in his Toyota-sponsored Toyota Supra with Johnny Thomas behind him in the belly-up sports car. Both these drivers running inside the top 10. Here's Zishan Dura trying the high side of the racetrack on Jake Finch. Door slammed shut on corner exit. As we've now got a fairly sizable green flag run underway for the race leaders, Mitch. Again, a 55-lap fuel run was what we expected, but now Massey's got Tate Lytle reeling him back in. 0.2 of a second is the gap for the race lead here.
Yeah, a little bit of rubber banding going on. These guys maybe can't make up their mind, or Nick Massey is just reversing his decision to push hard here. We'll see what happens when they get caught up with each other.
And I think Ralph was mentioning earlier that, you run out a little bit ahead of the field too early, you can burn your tires off, and maybe that's what we're seeing on the 48.
They might be right. We'll see what happens when the 56 catches them and whether or not how easy that pass might be.
Well, if he set a pace that was too fast for his tires, then yeah, you can get out front if your car's really good and make everybody chase you and then make them burn up their tires. But if your pace is a little bit quicker than maybe you should have been, then you're going to do the damage to your own tires.
This is bringing Chris Wright and Scott Crump into the equation as well in 3rd and 4th. They've caught up to these pair up here. We'll see how they blend into the equation.
It's a 4-car fight for the race lead here at Charlotte Motor Speedway for the ERSCA PristineAuction.com series. Lytle a 10.5 quicker last time by the Nick Massey, working up to the rear bumper out of turn number 4, putting pressure on. You see Crump to the inside of the racetrack on the exit at turn 4, side by side for the 3rd spot right now on the back step of the podium. But Lytle right on the rear bumper of that 48, putting pressure on him as Crump moves to 3rd.
I think Lytle's got to be a little bit careful here not to burn up his own stuff trying to pass the 48. If you can do it well enough without using too much of your stuff, then do go ahead. The clean air is very nice, but don't do it at the cost of maybe 10 laps worth of performance in your tires.
About 10 laps. We're going to take a break here for just a moment, but in the time being, we have a battle for the lead. So Tate Lytle reeling in the 48. He's going to look to the bottom of the racetrack. Massey will leave him the space. And they enter turn 1 at over 180 miles an hour, and Massey leaves in the lane. Lytle's there, but can't quite carry the speed. On corner exit, the 48 should be able to get a run, but he didn't. Now they're side by side. The 56 pulls up to the rear quarter, now to the B pillar of the 48 car. Now a lunge into turn 3 for the race lead.
Oh, we got a caution.
And that is Liam Sheen in the 9 car. Also will spin at Corner exit, Brian Dorsey, the 15 of Dylan Hickey also involved. The 31 of Gerald Campbell is also there as well. So another multi-car accident, bringing out our third caution of the night. First car I saw around was Liam Sheen in the 5.
Yeah, it looks like the 10 made contact with the 5 down at the turns 1 and 2. Sheen just going a little bit slower, and the 10 didn't slow up for him.
Yeah, and you see the 5 try to lock it down, and else drive it in. This almost made it through. The 15 was checking up and just got absolutely obliterated from
the
behind.
9 takes another big hit.
Wow. There's the 10 and the 5 right there. Yeah, see Shandura just gets into the back, and Sheen turns him around. And Sheen, just a passenger, does a good job locking it up there, Ralph, but then everybody else, again, as we saw before, just kind of piling into the mess at the end of it.
So then,
Yeah, it looked like he slowed up a little bit there in the corner, and nowhere for the guy behind him to go. He was right on his bumper, kind of similar to what happened to Jimmy Johnson this past weekend at Darlington coming off the corner.
There's one last look at Dylan Hickey. Was checking up, didn't know where they were going to go, moves to the right at the last second, and Gerald Campbell, he had the 0-3 breathing down his neck. That was Dylan Thomas. But a crash, a spin, and our third caution of the night is out. The field's going to head down to pit lane. We're going to take a break for just a moment. We'll be right back for more. Welcome back live to SimTV. Want to give Ralph Sheen a huge thank you for jumping in, and of course, this has been an excellent time for everybody to kind of enjoy time with the family, so we're going to let Ralph get back to that, and we thank him for joining us this evening. It was pretty cool to have that very famous voice in here, Mitch. I remember having him on TNT back in 2009, 2010, and hearing his voice in the booth tonight was pretty cool, even if only for a short while. So glad to have him, but welcome back again, Mitch, as we negotiate our third caution of the night in what is going to be a very long evening. We're still only 34 laps in to a 175-lap race.
Yeah, hopefully things will string out again after this caution, but even judging by this last run, even when everybody is strung out, people are still racing really hard and not being all that cautious at the moment, so we could probably expect another yellow in the middle of a run, I think, in the middle of this race again. From here on out, it's a safe 2-stop on fuel, but it's going to depend. It's going to depend now. That depends on whether or not it goes green the rest of the way, which I don't expect.
Right. So now that we've seen a couple of cautions happen mid-run, do you think that makes everyone else a little bit more wary about planning for longer runs? I feel like now I wouldn't make a strategy that relies on a long green flag run because I'm not sure we're going to get one. So does that totally readjust your whole planning for the night, or are you just kind of taking things as they go?
That's a fair take to have, and yeah, I think you take that into account for sure. Whether or not you stay out or even come in early or save your tires, go hard on your tires, it just depends. At this point, it's really just a guessing game. I mean, you got to go with what everything is going to happen and whatever you think, whatever you've seen maybe in the past in the league in these races, however these people race and whether or not you can trust them to make a long green flag run.
35 laps into this race now as we've got about an hour and 16 left. Again, it's 10 o'clock here on the East Coast right now. Thanks for joining us here on SimTV. If you're brand new to the channel, make sure that you hit the subscribe button to join us for more. We've got lots of racing right now on another video. We've got the 3-wide Grand National Series. They're at Cirque Gilles Villeneuve tonight at Montreal for their next round of their season. They got road racing over there with Finney and DeCuna and Connor Horn on the call. Tomorrow night, Fuel Mission 22 Premier Series action heads right here to Charlotte. We'll be back here again tomorrow night. I'll be over on the Grid Life channel doing the what are they calling it now? The Grid Life iRacers Hard Times Challenge presented by Mike's Harder. Full name of that series mentioned. And they're actually partnering with Mike's Hard Lemonade for that series. They'll be running Porsche Cup cars at VIR, Brands Hatch, Sonoma, and Motegi.
Yeah, I noticed that in the Discord earlier. Kind of cool sponsorship to have, I guess.
Pretty cool. I find the alcohol partnership a little bit funny, but hey, it's something. And I'm really excited to get that underway tomorrow. So.
And the Porsche Cup is always a great car to have. Hopefully things don't end up crashing out too much there.
Well,
hopefully they have good racing on that end.
Yeah, they doing this heat format situation where they're basically whittling down over 100 people down into basically a 40-car feature race. But even 40 cars at VIR, turn 1 with the Porsche Cup car, it's going to be a mess either way, but it'll be fun. That'll be 8:45 p.m. tomorrow night Eastern Standard Time on the Grid Life YouTube channel. Find out more at www.grid.life or gridlifegaming.gg, I think is another thing they're doing. So as we come back to the restart here, lap 37 here, Mitch.
Brendan Key has stayed out under caution here, so he'll lead him to the green ahead of Massey. It'll be interesting to see how long he can hold on here.
Yeah, we'll see if the tires are a big factor at all as we come to the green flag. Down into turn number 1 for the 37th time, and already going to pull off to the inside lane. Bail to the apron here as the rest of the field comes on through.
Not sure what that call was all about, but
maybe just to lead a lap, potentially.
Potentially.
Look at the 23 of Jake Finch to the bottom of the racetrack in turn number 3. He's passing Chuck Sweeting. He's on through, pushes up in the center. I've seen a lot of drivers struggling with the mid-corner push here, Mitch. And you're on a fixed setup, so how do you negotiate a tight setup? Do you trail brake a little bit? Or are you letting the car roll more through the center? How do you kind of navigate a setup that's a little tight through the center?
A bit of both. It's a bit of trail braking in to get it to the bottom, and then you make sure you got to roll it through the center. If you get on the gas in a plowy setup, it's just going to plow out. So obviously the best thing, just roll it through the middle, slide back on the throttle out.
Damian Leininger has been really impressive tonight, but he's still fighting Jake Finch for 5th right now on the restart. He'll slot himself back in a line as Massey comes across the start-finish line to lead. Lap number 39. He's been the dominant car so far, but Chris Wright has been almost as good, and Tate Lytle has been just as fast as those two as well. But look at Crump. He's maybe been the dark horse tonight, Mitch, hanging out inside the top 5 with the pace in the front 3.
Yeah, for sure. He's just sat there in P3, P4 for the majority of the night and just watch these front 3s, see what they're doing, let them solve their race out. He's sitting in the points lead at the moment, so he needs a good points tonight. Can't afford to be too aggressive here, at least to the start. So I'm just sitting back and watching things happen, I guess.
And Jake Finch has been on the move since the restart in that bright yellow and blue paint scheme. He's right behind Crump, and maybe he's not complacent right now. He wants to move forward, so he's right in the back of the 51 car. As here comes Chris Wright, taking a look at his teammate for the race lead here as they head down into turn number 3, putting pressure on him, but maybe they're planning on working together. Maybe not. We're not going to know until Wright launches his attack on the race leader.
Yeah, for sure, a little bit of a peak there, but not close enough. And I'm more interested in the Finch-Crump battle here in the back. Finch started 22nd out to 5th, and it doesn't look like he's willing to stop that charge. So we'll see what he does with Crump, though, as Wright is right in the back of Massey, though, out of 2. So we'll see if he can make a move here.
And Wright having a look at the race lead. Massey isn't going defensive, so I think that tells me that either Massey's not going to fight it or they've had some sort of agreement where Wright is not going to battle for the race lead, but they are pretty close to each other as they exit turn number 4. They come across the start-finish line. Now taking more green flag laps under our belt. Here's what 175 miles an hour looks like past the start-finish line and into turn number 1.
Massey and Wright now gapping the rest of the pack as well, so both running very quick pace. Maybe that Wright's putting pressure on Massey then. Don't know.
See, they're running 2/10 quicker than the rest of the field, so I'm not sure if it really matters if it's helping them both. But we saw Massey kind of come back to Tate Lytle at the tail end of that last green flag run, and he almost lost the lead to Tate Lytle. So maybe they're pushing too hard, and maybe Lytle's pacing himself right now because these guys are running at a very fervent pace out front. I'm not sure if they can maintain this for the entire night.
It's exactly what I was thinking. They came back to the rest of the pack, and looks like Wright's pulling out of 2, so we'll see if this move works on Massey.
Into turn number 3, here comes Chris Wright, and Massey's going to lift and let him on by, so I think that answers that question as they roll through turns 3 and 4.
Maybe Massey learning a lesson from the last run and backing off a little bit here.
And they've got control. It really doesn't matter who's in the lead at this point. Again, so much racing left to do tonight, so I'm not really sure that there is any particular urgency to be up front. Keeping an eye on this 12 car of Leininger as well. He started his night in 23rd. He's done nothing but go forward. As you see the 23 of Finch have a look at Crump into turn number 3. And they're side by side, the ST Sports podcast car on the outside of the pit stops for Hopes and Joy. Is that what that says on the nose? I can't quite read it on the nose of that car, but come through turn 4 and Finch moves up into 4th place.
A good move there. Just keeping a Crump to the outside. So easy move on the inside. Looks like the inside is going to be the way to go for the majority of the night, unless you're on fresh tires. It is the Stay Tuned Sports podcast on the nose. I'm trying to see what the rest says. Okay.
Chris Wright leads the way, lap number 45 complete. 0.4 of a second up the road from Massey. Finch, Crump for 4th. And here comes Leininger. I told you about him a couple laps ago, putting pressure on the 51 car now. And started back about halfway through the field. And he's keeping that car so tight on the inside line through 1 and 2. And that's what I saw with Finch as well. Ooh, maybe a touch in the wall there on the back straightaway. Maybe a momentary lapse in spatial awareness, but he's going to get it tucked right back to the blue line for turns 3 and 4.
Yeah, running pretty cleanly on the inside, gotta say. Is the 51? Or not the 51, sorry.
The 12 car is what we're talking about.
Yes, sorry.
Massey off into turn 1, though, with Lytle right behind him in the 56. These two fought for the race lead at the tail end of that last green flag run, and Lytle wasn't able to complete that pass, and I'm sure this is unfinished business for him right now as they head into turn 3. But behind him, Zishan Dura side by side with the 20 of Davis Warren, who had a big impact on pit lane earlier tonight. Behind him, there's Robert Hill Jr. in the number 84 Spark VR car. We haven't really talked about him a whole lot tonight, but the Spark VR machine hasn't had the best of night. Some damage on the car, but he's up in 17th after starting in 30th.
Yeah, good start to the race for him. Hopefully he can keep moving forward and keep progressing and not get caught in another incident here.
Working our way now towards lap number 50, which would get us past the 1/4 mark of this race already, but it's a long one for sure as we start to stretch the lead out. Chris Wright setting the pace at the moment in the number 24 Wingman sports car. And we've had a lot of really cool sponsors jump on board this season. They're all scrolling at the bottom of the ticker pylon at the bottom of the screen. Jumping on board, lots of these cars have title sponsors. And one of the drivers that we haven't really talked about a lot at all tonight is Josh Adams in the number 95. And he's got significant damage on the nose of that car. Remember, this is one of those, the 4 races that you can earn that extra cash bonus. And if you win all of them, you get $100. And Josh Adams right now, the only driver that is capable of doing that, but that Protect Camaro looking a little bit sore.
Yeah, I can hear it on board as well. It's not developing the same RPM as it was. Looks like that the front end contact earlier in the race really hurt that car. It'll be a miracle, I think, to get the win tonight.
Yeah, so he was fighting with a very damaged race car. For the race lead, though, Massey and Lytle together have kind of caught Chris Wright. So the lead was about 0.6 of a second. It's dwindled down to 3 car lengths worth as they exit turn 4. So Massey, Lytle working together as the car that's going to hit pit lane. That is Brandon Keys, number 53, already a lap down tonight. We have a 3-horse fight for the race lead as we work our way down through 1 and 2 again.
Yeah, Lytle running laps ever so slightly faster than the 2 in front of him, though varying, obviously, as they close up with each other. But he's got a fast car right now. Can you keep the tires under him as he goes for a move on Massey?
And he was a full 10th quicker than the race leader. So Massey back to the 24. And this is what we were talking about earlier with Ralph Shaheen, was the challenge of keeping the tires under you when you're leading this race and setting the pace. Now, Wright seems like he might have burned off a little bit of his tires. So he's struggling right now. I wouldn't say struggling, he's leading the race, but he's struggling in comparison to the 2nd and 3rd place cars. And Massey and Lytle now putting the pressure back on. That's forcing Wright to drive a little bit harder, and that's only going to exacerbate the problem he has right now.
For sure. It'll be a tall order to keep this lead and keep the tires under, and we'll see what he can do for defense-wise against these 2 fast cars behind him.
Yeah, so tell me about defense at a 1.5 mile racetrack. Typically, you'd go to the bottom of the racetrack, and that's what Wright has been doing. But I've also found that at some tracks, the outside lane is not a bad place to defend because you can carry so much more momentum down the straightaways here as well.
Now, we have seen a couple people try to defend on the outside here tonight, but it's not working as well because you can't carry as much speed through the corner. A lot of guys are running a car width or even a 1.5 width above the car on the inside, and out there's no rubber laid down. They can't carry the speed and thus not down the straights, as we see Lytle going for a move on Massey. See, he's running a full car width ahead or above Lytle, excuse me, And he's not able to carry a whole lot off the corner, and Lytle's going to get him here to the 1 and 2, I believe.
Yeah, he's got a pretty solid run. He should be able to complete this pass down into turns 1 and 2. Behind him, you see Crump working his way back by Jake Finch for 4th. So even the 23 struggling in the same way that we saw Chris Wright's pace drop off. And because, and even with the 56 car passing Nick Massey, they have not lost any time to the race leader. So that just tells me right now that Wright does not have the pace that he had in the beginning of the run. And you know what, maybe that's not fair to say. I think he's got similar pace. I just think he's dropping off faster than everybody else. And you even see the 4th and 5th place cars starting to join this fight.
Right. Continuing on with the defense argument, if it's later in the run and the car ahead of you the car trying to pass you has a little bit older tires, if you can keep him down on the bottom line for longer and prevent him from washing out on the outside of the corner as far, you can't carry as much speed. He's going to have to lift a little bit, and that's going to give you the opportunity to carry the speed outside of him. But that only works if you're down low, right up against the car next to you, and maybe if it's later in a run with older tires.
Chris Wright leads this race, but here comes Lytle to the inside on the front straight.
And he's going to breeze right by.
That made that look pretty easy, didn't he?
Sure did. We'll see if he can hold it here against Wright, whether or not Wright has something else for him. Back off a little bit early in the 3, so probably not just settling in for the moment.
So 56 laps into this race, we've got about 120 something laps left in this event, but Tate Lytle has shown me that he's got the best long run pace in this race car.
I think it's a fair assessment of Lytle's pace here. Running a little high, 1 and 2 there, but shouldn't be an issue. We'll see whether or not he can carry the tires under him. We haven't got a full green flag run yet, so we can't really assess everyone too harshly. But for right now, yeah, he definitely has the pace.
And the top 4 now, you can throw a blanket over them as the Massey and 24 Chris Wright cars begin to battle. Here comes Scott Crump as well into the mix. Side by side off into turn 1, the 51 drops to the bottom of the racetrack.
Yeah, that's a 2 for run right there. He loses 2 spots in one corner as Crump slides by on the inside as well. So Wright definitely losing the tires out from under him at the moment, I think.
Kenny Lowry in 10th place. He's going to move on by in the number 22 car. Vincent Isabella in the 88 drops to the back. And he'll drop outside of the top 10. And now here's Liam Sheen on a rebound in 12th place right now. And behind them, look at this fight. There's Will Cannon in the 08. He's got Kyle Lowry and Tyler Riggs all over him. Riggs trying to recover from that early incident he had on the initial start of the race.
Yeah, making decent recovery there. Cannon has a little bit of damage himself. Lowry to the inside of Cannon now, and maybe the car behind him can carry through. I'm not sure. I can't see the number at the moment. Riggs diving down to the inside, possibly almost touching Cannon. Almost 3 wide as they come out of 4. Not quite, though.
And person that's following this in 18th place right now as they come across down into turn number 1. Tate Lytle still leads this race by 0.2 of a second, but the battle right now is a stiff one for 15th spot. Cannon around the outside of the racetrack.
Oh, Cannon pitching Riggs completely down. Very, very close there. That's how you got to defend, though, if you really want to.
60 laps complete in this race. These 4 continue their battle here. I'm not sure we're done up front yet, though, here, Mitch, because Nick Massey now right on the back bumper of the 56 car, pushing for the race lead. He might get back by without too much longer waiting here. They got lap traffic up ahead. I can't quite tell who that is. It might be Dylan Hickey, and I'm not thinking that is. It's going to be another car. Black C87 is Sean Dice, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe the tires coming back to the 48 in comparison to Tate Lytle in the 56.
Oh, Tyler Riggs hard to the wall, the back straightaway. Big impact for the number 26. He's out of the race at lap number 62. What a heck of an impact. Here's a look. It's right behind. Oh, the 53. Was that Brennan Key that just got in the wall there?
Yeah. Oh, no.
Oh, what a heck of a hit.
Right in the opening in the wall there, too. That's a terrible place to hit it.
And they just get together, and we've seen this a couple times. This is just the worst possible place to hit a wall is right at the opening there. Right back across the racetrack, the rest of the field does a pretty good job getting slowed down. But caution is out for the 4th time. Then we're going to take a very quick break. We'll be right back for the rest of this race. We'll have about an hour left. Stick with us. Welcome back live to SimTV. Just clearing up a couple graphics things here. Joshua Adams in the 95 is going to stay out here for a wave around. Looks like Lafferty's going to do the same here, Mitch. But our 4th caution of the night at lap number 64. We were just about to kind of get into the meat of our green flag run. But again, we talked about this earlier on the last caution. We were expecting that we would kind of get more cautions based on what we've seen so far. And again, I don't think you can plan for a long green flag run anymore. We've seen that even late in the run, we're still getting crashes here and there.
That's right, and I think that might have been a result of old tires on Brandon Key's car, causing the collision there. Unfortunate that we couldn't do a full green flag run here, but this also makes fuel interesting again. Now we have a very uncertain 2-stop. 65 was the target for a 2-stop. We're going to restart pretty much on 65 or 66. So.
And we're getting down to probably really to the middle section of this race, which is going to mean that we're going to see more of what we've seen already. I think we've seen a pretty solid battle. The front 4 cars really impressing me. Massey, Lytle, Wright, and Crump. Those 4, I think, really are the ones that are the favorites to win this race. Again, we haven't really seen a lot out of many other drivers. I do worry that Jake Finch, or at least worry for the race leaders, that Jake Finch could be a factor in this. He was starting to drop off at the tail end of that run too, though, Mitch, so maybe he doesn't have the long run pace he needs. But if we get a short run at the end, that 23 car, he was aggressive on the last restart. I think he'll be aggressive on this one as well. I
agree. Looks like short run pace definitely there, just not as there on the tires for the long run. So with these shorter runs, though, maybe he could be a factor at the end. We'll see. We're in double file behind the pace truck as the lights are extinguished.
Yeah, so again, high side or the low side is really the question we're asking on these restarts. We haven't really seen anybody try the high side yet, and I think the bottom's been the dominant line so far.
You know, everyone's on fresh tires. Bottom side's easy way to go because you can just stick it down there and not have to worry about washing out against the guy on the outside of you. So easy choice inside.
That seems to be the case even with the Cup cars as well. Is with the lower power, you know, you don't have the option to really spin the tires quite as much. So there's not really a lot of modulation. You're just in second gear. You go to the floor of the throttle and you just get going. And I think really the shorter way around is the best way around, at least on the opening laps. Now, once you're deeper in a run, carrying momentum is a lot more important, and you'll start running that outside lane. And that's kind of where I think we're going to see the outside be a factor. I don't think we're going to see it on a restart as a line selection. I do think we'll see it later in the green flag runs as we come out of turn number 4. 110 to go. Still a long way left. But Massey's been the dominant car so far tonight. So is Lytle. Here we go. Coming out of turn 4. Green flag back in the air and a great restart for the Wingman Sports 48.
Yeah, I guess the jump there, and it shows maybe it doesn't even matter the lane you choose. As long as you get the jump, then you're just fine. So that's pulling out to at least a 2 or 3 car length lead now in the 1.
Whoa, bit of a scramble behind him. There's Johnny Thomas on the bottom of the racetrack underneath the 22 of Kenny Lowry. Side by side at the exit of the corner, Jake Finch. He's going to take him double wide down the backstretch. He's going to look for third on Tate Lytle. Lytle on the outside. The 23 goes through, and this is why if we're in a late race restart position, that 23 car is the only one I'm going to pick because he's been so solid getting back up through the gears.
Hopefully he can stick it through the rest of the run, as Lytle tries to stick around the outside, but on the fresh tires, on the inside, he's just going to pull away here.
And look at Crump even having a look at the inside of Tate Lytle. We've seen Lytle pace himself, and that's been kind of the way he's moved back forward. But if you lose too many spots on the restarts, you're not going to get a chance to go back to the race lead as he goes defensive to keep Crump behind him. Line is turned into turn number 3, and it looks like Crump will heed that for now. Very nice, orderly grouping at the exit of turn number 4. So everyone in line as we come across the start-finish line now for the 67th time.
Hopefully everyone sorts out very nicely. We get a full green flag run here with green flag stops. That would be very nice to see, but I don't think anybody can plan on that anymore. You gotta maybe just go hard here on these runs and see what you can get before the caution.
I think that's what Jake Finch's strategy has been, and it's worked out for him so far. Look at Isabella at the bottom of the racetrack underneath Kenny Lowry. That is a position for 8th place. Side by side in the exit of the corner, right behind him, the 57 of Pettit. We haven't talked about him at all yet tonight. He's going to back out. He heard a big lift as they head off into turn number 1. Does not want to be a part of this if they get together, but a big slip up now by the 22, and Pettit's going to take a run.
Maybe looking to the inside here, and he's got the quarter panel out of the door, and he should have it cleared through on the inside with fresh tires.
Oh, he's going to push up, and Lowry's going to have to leave him the space, and through goes Pettit to 9th place. Now Zishandira hard left on corner exit, all the way down to the blue line to try to get a run on 10th place Lowry. Not quite enough, though. Here comes Liam Sheen back up inside the top 15 right now in the number 5.
Yeah, good recovery for him after that spin earlier on, and see what he can make stick here against the 10 car.
He is having a really good night. I think he's kind of found a home here at ERSCA. It seems like he's found more success here than other leagues of the sort. And it's really refreshing to see Liam have some solid nights and have some better luck. Obviously, tonight, not really the best example of that with the contact he had earlier, but he's been able to control his destiny some here. I think he's really found it a nice transition. So he's running really well inside the top 15 right now as we go back to the race lead. Massey and Chris Wright, 2 leaders at the moment.
Yeah, bunched up together as we saw before, and I guess it's going to play out who can save the tires a little bit better. You see Jake Finch now looking into the picture in P3, though it is yet to be determined whether he has the pace for these front 2.
Yeah, again, I think he's just burns up his stuff so quickly. It's so fast for the first 5 or 6 laps after a restart. I think he gives it all away. But if he can maintain some of that pace, he'd be a very dangerous driver to have throughout the rest of this race. So down into turn number 1 with this fight behind Davis Warren. It's got Kyle Lowry, Will Cannon, Leininger. This group was fighting before the last caution, and they continue it right now.
Yeah, great scrap here between these 4 cars, and Cannon losing out to the 12 there, and he's going to slip back into line, it looks like. And they're all slipping back into line here for the time being. But the 08 got a better run off, and you might have it go on the 12 car here, and the 1 possibly.
Whoa, he's right up to the rear bumper, almost a touch there. Now will they touch? That was awful close. And look at the aero push that the 08 dealt with there. I'm not sure if he just got tight in the center, if it was the aero wash off the 12 car. Not as severe in the Xfinity car as it is in the Cup platform, Mitch, but the Cannon certainly struggling with mid-corner grip.
Yeah, because he's got damage on the right front, too. That certainly it's got to be playing a factor with that.
I'm sure it is. As we go back to the race lead, Jake Finch starting to fall back into the clutches of Tate Lytle, and then maybe a slight wall scrape there off into turn 1, but Massey and Wright continue to control this race, and this Wingman Sports duo, they have probably been the most impressive of anybody so far because they've been working together somewhat. We saw earlier Massey actually give the lead up to Chris Wright and vice versa, and I really like that they're willing to do that and not fight between their teammates for the race lead at this time. Look at Kenny Lowry and Zishandira for 10th. And And Sheen taking advantage of it. He'll jump into 11th spot.
Looking for a move on Kenny Lowry next is Liam Sheen. Making moves up towards the front, further up at least.
And for the race lead, look at Massey on driver's right. Chris Wright on the bottom. And we'll see if Massey lifts and lets him by, or if he'll fight him. They're fighting a little bit now as they exit turn number 4. And now Jake Finch is smelling blood in the water. He might have a run at both these two leaders.
Yeah, I didn't hear a lift from the 48 there, so possibly fighting this out. Maybe we'll see into 1 whether he lets him go. Doesn't look like it.
There is the Be Your Own Hero Brave Like Wyatt onboard cam. You see seeing double up in front of him with those two teammates. Look at how clean. They're leaving each other plenty of space with 100 laps to go. But they are bringing Finch right back into this fight.
Reminds me of my teammate Nick Johnston on the fuel side at Homestead, just kind of riding out front, controlling everything. But these two are fighting a lot more than we were, so we'll see if that hurts them coming around here, start lap 77.
Massey inches ahead with the outside lane, and this is what I was talking about earlier, is the outside giving you that momentum to defend, and that's what Massey's doing right now. Chris Wright right behind him, right alongside. They're kind of flying formation, taking the wingman part of this pretty literally at the front of the field as they enter turn 3.
I'd say a nice echelon formation they got going here, and that's bringing Finch into this fight a little bit more. Inch by inch, he's crawling up on this front two, but can he get into the mix is the big question.
Now, I could be wrong, but I think the Wingman Sports logo, and they're certainly going to correct me, I think the Wingman Sports logo has a chicken on it. And aren't chickens flightless, or can chickens fly? I don't know if chickens can fly or not.
I believe they can fly a short distance, like maybe a couple feet off the ground, but that's about it.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Well, right now they're flying right against the ground as Massey and Wright continue to fight. No team orders here, side by side. Finch is here in 3rd place, just sitting behind, and there's nowhere to go. You can't really run 3 wide around here, not safely. So I think he's got to wait for these guys to sort it out before he takes his attack. Or these guys up front are running so fast that he doesn't have a choice. Here comes Lytle to the inside for 3rd.
Yeah, look at that. Now finally Wright clears Massey, and that just hurt his tires a lot. Having Massey on the outside, not being able to use the full width of the racetrack, and now his right sides are probably hurting a little bit more, and that's only going to hurt him later into this run if it still goes green.
Bit of a hip check there as the Wingman Sports just told us that they don't fly, they fight. And that's what they're doing right now as Chris Wright goes to the race lead, lap number 80. As Massey tucks in behind, and they had to do that because Tate Lytle, who has really been their only other competitor tonight, at least at the front of the field, he is there. So they've given up some time. Lytle speeds up that gap.
That's for sure, and they've given up tires
Oh,
as
Finch
well.
hard to the wall at the exit of turn 2. The 23 car bounces off the safer barrier. He'll collect. He's going to pull right back up into traffic, now down to the apron. Huge damage on the right side of that car.
That's unfortunate. That's so rough for him. He was having such a great run and just threw it way out of 2. Dang.
We'll see if he hits pit lane here. No, he's going to stay out on the racetrack. But let's go back and have a look. That was a really hard hit. And you don't hit anything slightly at Charlotte. If you hit something, it's going to be hard. Here's a look.
For sure.
Got a little
Just
tight.
just outside of the 51, maybe didn't account for it. Just a little bit tight on the wall. Oh, big slide there.
A big mistake for the 23 as we jump back live. Meanwhile, for 2nd, here comes Lytle to P2, now splitting the difference between the Wingman Sports teammates, and he'll clear the 48 Nick Massey, and now set his sights on the race leader, now Crump. Eating up the 48 to the inside into turn number 1, and Crump comes on through to stand on the podium for the 2nd time today. If he can just hang out here, he'll be in a good spot in the next restart.
Yeah, for sure. Those relaxed attitudes of Crump and Lytle paying off here as they pass the 24 and the 48.
Great battles for the race lead. Lytle now working over Chris Wright. And now looking slightly up the racetrack to try to carry some more of that speed. There's that big seam there, Mitch. I'm not sure it's going to make a huge difference tonight, but typically you'd want to keep your right side tires off of those seams as they can be a bit slick, especially in the heat of the day. But with the track surface temperature, it's actually risen slightly with the additional rubber laid down on the racetrack and the cars putting temp in it. But typically you'd want to stay off those seams, but Lytle dancing right on the edge of that right now as he looks for the race lead.
It looks to be working for him. He's maybe taking a little bit of a peek on Wright, but not quite there yet. Riding over that seam, straddling it as it got through 3 and 4, and doesn't look to be as fast. Maybe it's just possibly avoiding the air wash out the 24.
Yeah, that's something you're always fighting, and I don't think it's quite to the level that it would typically be, even in the Xfinity cars, but it's certainly not as bad as it is in the Cup cars, Mitch. In the Cup cars, you just get stalled, but look at Lytle right now. He's able to pull right up to the rear tailpipes of the 24, and maybe not advanced, but he's certainly not losing time. And now he's got overlap as they enter turn 3, and here he goes.
And he's there. Can Wright hold him down? He's holding him pretty tightly down there. He's got the defense idea. He's got the idea of it, but Lytle's just got the tires. And he's going to have maybe a quarter left to clear, and he'll do it in a 1.
Yeah, great pass by Tate Lytle. And again, back he needs these 23-lap runs to really stretch his legs. And here comes Crump to the inside. And maybe Crump, again, we've seen him get faster throughout the run, but maybe he really excels in the 90 to 100-lap run range where you really get you have the fuel stop in between. I think that's where Crump's going to excel, and he's got a little bit of time to stretch his legs now as well. So this time, 90 laps to go, working our way towards halfway as Crump puts pressure on second place.
I noticed Nick Massey dropped back to 5th and went to have a look, and he has some right side damage. Maybe he collected the wall.
Yeah, that would be pretty likely if he's fallen all the way back to 5th after running inside the top 5 most of the night. So Massey going to be fighting an uphill battle now with that damage, as for second place, Crump is going through on Chris Wright.
These two tire savers prevailing here in this longer run.
Oh, it looks like Wright's going to try to cross him over. He's there, back to the bottom. Real tight at the exit of turn 4.
Crump clears him, though, out of 4 and down to the line. And like I was saying, these tire savers are really coming through here and later in the run, hoping not for another caution, but for a green flag pit stop cycle so they can keep carrying on their charge forward.
I'm not sure that I want to put myself in that position again. If I was Crump, he'd cut that really close. And look who's at the back of this group, just silently stalking. That's Chuck Sweeting in the 27. Started 34th. He's plus 30 right now, the biggest mover of the front group. And I would certainly not take my money off of him. With this long left in the race, Chuck's a good driver. Here he is inside the top 5.
Now, for sure, he's proven himself to be really competent on these tires and really able to save them and carry forward into the run. And we'll see how far he can get here before pit stops begin to start.
And looking at the race leader, we've had 25 laps of green flag running. That tells me that we're about 30 laps away from a pit stop required for fuel. That would put us certainly, I think you mentioned a 2-stopper earlier there, Mitch, so still strategy in the back of these drivers' minds.
Yeah, for sure. I believe we restarted lap 66. So it's going to be very, very close to stop. You'll need to save a little bit, possibly, if you don't want to be running out over the line. But that is, of course, we don't have another caution, which...
Yeah, we will have options for green-white checkers tonight, so we can't really, I would never put myself... If I have the choice, you don't want to put yourself in a position where you require it to run the scheduled distance, because we've seen that turn out very badly a number of times, as we got a good battle here. Liam Sheen and Kenny Lowry for 10th, and Zishan Dira holding off Davis Warren and Kyle Lowry for 12th spot.
This gaggle still fighting really hard with each other. It's great to watch.
Kenny Lowry's got a pretty good run onto the back straightaway now. But nowhere to go with it, so he'll stay in line. Maybe the hood slightly raised up. Some, obviously, non-standard body work on the 22. But Liam Sheen, big understeer through 3 and 4. That'll give Lowry a great run to the inside, and he'll go for 10th spot on the front straight.
See if he can get here, whether Sheen will defend hard enough to keep it.
Not sure if he can really do much now, as Lowry's there, can force his way through, and he'll pass him and complete that pass for 10th. So now Zishan Dira set the sights on the Triad and Toyota-sponsored Toyota Supra of the number 5. We'll back up to the race lead here.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say we're closing in lap number 100, and I think it's a pretty good time for a SimTV sound surge. Let's crank it up.
Let's do it.
number 95 of 175 here tonight at Charlotte Motor Speedway for the ERSCA PristineAuction.com series. And we've had quite a bit of racing tonight so far, 95 laps worth. And typically we'd be nearing the end of this race, Mitch, but still a long way to go. We've still got 80 laps left in this race as we got a battle for the race lead. Scott Crump putting pressure on race leader Tate Lytle.
For sure, he just hasn't had the run out of the corners to get to him, but he's just right there in the bumper. He just needs one little mistake from Lytle and he'll be right there.
It's been pretty neck and neck, and we've seen a lot of people really embrace this Xfinity platform. And this is really what the Cup racing used to be like. Mitch, you used to have a lot more control. Throttle control mattered. It wasn't quite as much aero push, and it led to some really good racing. Obviously, a lot of groups have switched over to this Xfinity platform because of how much more raceable it is. We've seen that tonight as these two continue to dog each other for the race lead. Look at Crump all over the back of Lytle down in turn one. Did he touch him? Maybe there's a touch there. Battle for the race lead.
That was way too close. I wouldn't even try that.
And that's Crump knowing exactly where his car is in relation to Tate Lytle and being comfortable to push the issue here as they pass Sean Dice, who is now 9 laps down in the 87 car back in 26th place. He'll stay well out of the way. Chris Wright hangs on a third. Chuck Sweeting still fourth. Deeper in the field, there are some other battles to go over. Joshua Personette, he's on the outside of Richard Lafferty, who has fought his way back from an early incident on the opening lap. And here he is back in 19th place. It's a slow climb back forward, Mitch, but sometimes even if your night starts off badly, you can still recover it by being very careful with the rest of what you got.
Yeah, that's for sure. As long as you stay out of trouble the rest of the night, then you can definitely gain spots from people who do make mistakes or just on merit.
Closing in now to what I would call the latter portion of this race. Nick Massey is going to hit pit lane. This is maybe a bit earlier than we expected here, Mitch, but maybe he's splitting this last run as evenly as he can. We've got 75 laps, so maybe he's going to go roughly, 37 to the end?
Yeah, that could be an option. Definitely early from what everyone else is doing. The one stop is no longer an option from here for him, obviously. So probably split the run and see where that'll get him. Maybe he expects a caution.
Yeah, we're seeing Liam Sheen and looks like Joshua Personette also hit pit lane. So maybe there's a lot of drivers that are going to try this strategy as we hit lap number 100. Crump has backed off of Lytle for now. I'm still keeping my eye on this 51 in the long run. I just don't know if Chris Wright and Nick Massey, obviously Massey had that damage from earlier. Those two Wingman sports cars are so good on the opening run. I'm not sure that they can carry the speed throughout the rest of it, and that's what we've seen is Lytle and Crump really separate themselves now when they got laps under their belt.
No, and that's the issue for those two cars, the 24 and the 48. Just can't keep the tires under them for any amount of time longer than, say, 20 or 25 laps. And that shows with the 56 and the 51 pulling away here.
Got pretty good spreads now as Leininger hit pit lane. So for Tate Lytle, the race leader, he has been out for 38 laps. So we're kind of on the tail end of what they can do fuel-wise. You can expect another 10 laps, maybe 15 at the max. But a lot of drivers beginning to hit pit lane now, which tells me that it's a strategy decision only. And they're just kind of planning this race, running this sort of in reverse, like you'd run a road course race, Mitch. Instead of running your tank out and then pitting, you're basically seeing how early can you pit to make it to the end of the race.
That's for sure. I think maybe these earlier cautions in the runs are forcing these kind of moves, or it could be any kind of undercut. I'm not entirely sure.
Both Lowry's are on pit lane. Sorry to cut you off there, Mitch, but got a handful of cars that have made their next stop. I'm just curious where the leaders are going to come, because that's really what matters in the end here, is where Lytle and Crump and Wright and Sweeting all make their stops.
Yeah, that's going to be really interesting to see what they do with their tires. I think at this point you're pretty much committed to the one stop. They've gone long enough ahead of where Massey is pitting to where, Massey's going to have a clear undercut, so they just need to commit to this longer run out here, I believe.
I'm not sure if Lytle is feeling the need to defend right now because Crump is there, but he's not really putting that much pressure on, at least not as much as he was a few laps ago. Meanwhile, Kyle Hanshaw, we haven't talked about his name at all tonight, the Colonial Metal Products car, the number 46 Supra. He started his night in 32nd. Here he is up in 11th, but now here comes Cannon now to take over that spot as he goes to the inside. Oh, they're going to touch.
A little touch. That could have been disastrous, but they keep together and keep rolling off a 4.
Here comes Liam Sheen on fresh. Oh, no, that's not Liam Sheen. Excuse me. That's the 7 of Josh Neal. This is for position. Door slams shut. He'll back out.
This pack of 4 here has been fighting all night long. Oh, wow, big runner on the outside.
What was that? That was the 18 of Josh Personette. He's on fresh tires.
Yeah, he's screaming on the outside there.
So that really explains the speed differential there. Davis Warren hits pit lane in the number 20 car. And back to the race leaders. Again, I'm curious when they're going to come. So if you're Scott Crump, I think you have to come a lap before Lytle here, Mitch. I mean, I think using the undercut, when you're this close, it's possible. We've seen lap times drop off is about 2 seconds. If you come in a lap before, that's a 2-second gain on Tate Lytle. So I think that's what Crump has to do. For Lytle, though, the overcut is probably the way to keep the lead, is you sacrifice it in the short term and you gain it in the long run here.
But then again, can you afford to? Fuel is very tight for a one stop, so can you afford to make that one lap earlier stop? Maybe if you expect a caution, you could, but if not, then that could be a problem later on in the race. So the 15 on fresh tires going to the inside of 51.
I guess we're going to see how it all plays out. 70 laps to go. Ooh, 15's going to go up the inside, going to bully his way by at least the second place car. Now, oh, here comes Crump to the pit lane, so this is going to mix this up, so he's going to have to pit again. But now, Tate Lytle either has to respond this lap if he wants to keep the lead close, or completely commit and run the tank all the way out of fuel.
I think he's got to cover this off now. I don't think running this out is an option anymore for him.
So Crump hits pit lane from second, the first front runner to come down to pit road. We'll see if Lytle responds. Here he comes.
Will be. There we go. Yep. He's got to cover off the undercut from Crump, and that's going to eliminate the one-stop idea.
Well, the problem is that Crump, again, the drop-off is so significant that as long as Crump gets a clean exit off of pit lane, which it looks like he has done, a 14.5-second stop, he should be good to get around the race leader, and now Lytle has work to do, but we'll see where they all pan out, and if Lytle can get a better run onto and off of pit lane to maybe preserve this spot. There is Chris Wright. He's also in. So Chuck Sweeting stays out right now. He's been out for 46 laps. It looks like he's going to hit pit lane. So we're seeing runs about under 50 laps. I thought we'd see him go for longer, but maybe the fuel economy is not quite as good as we expected.
Possibly not, and that could be a factor we didn't account for. We expected a 55-lap fuel run, but maybe that's just not happening, and the two-stop is the way to go. At least stop on splash. So now it's just down to whether or not Lytle can catch back up to Crump and make another effort for the lead.
Well, I'm not sure if it's going to matter because Lytle got a great run off of pit lane, and he's going to pull up in front of Scott Crump. What an unbelievable pit stop sequence. Oh, Crump to the inside. A big dive in turn number 3. They touch. Lytle spins in turn 3. Can he save it? He will.
He does.
Unbelievable.
That's incredible.
Unbelievable. That was
Crump
a crash.
Huge move to the apron.
That was a crash.
That should have been a crash.
That was amazing. And we have to go back and look at that because that was a Hail Mary dive by the number 51 to try to make it and make that run count. He had to do it, Mitch. You need to make that short pit count. He hit the apron, drifts up the racetrack, and Tate Lytle. What an epic save. Insane.
Shades of Verstappen at Brazil last year in F1 had to make that move on Lewis really fast, and he did. Now Crump with the control of the lead, he can just control this pace of this race and maintain his tires better.
And the key difference in all this is now Lytle is behind not only Crump but also Chris Wright, and it's not an insignificant margin either. It's a couple seconds now. But I think all bets are off now. If Lytle gets back to that 51, unless there was some apologies over the radio we didn't hear, there's going to be some hard feelings and maybe some payback.
Looking back to the current leader, Jake Finch, he hasn't stopped yet. So maybe it's possible to go to 55.
Yeah, he's on lap 49 of the run, and it looks like he's going to stay out this lap as well. So yeah, I think you can go all 55. The drivers are specifically choosing not to for whatever reason, but either way, it's see how this all pans out in the end. We really don't know what's going to happen until things do. And the order you're looking at right now could be completely different on lap 175. So Finch leads, and Massey second, Leininger third. Those two have yet to pit. Crump fourth. He is the first driver that has made a pit stop, and we're looking at him right now.
As Cycles back out to fourth, there's a couple more cars pit. Isabella among them. And quite a sizable margin now to Lytle and Chris right there in the middle. So really a big loss for Lytle and what should have been a decent run out and being able to hold with Crump. So
Jake Finch hits pit lane. That was about lap number 51 in his run. So Massey takes over. Massey has made a pit stop. It was quite a while ago, though. So that was a really big undercut. I'm not sure if it's going to stand because Crump is already about 3.8 seconds behind and quickly gaining about 0.8 of a second a lap.
Yeah, he made that pit stop on lap 99, it looks like. It's now 113, and Crump had stopped a few laps ago, so that's about 10 laps fresher tires on that 51, and with only a 3-second gap, that's going to close very fast.
Crump working his way back up, and Leininger just out of the shot. He is the second place car right now, hoping for a yellow, I think is what Leininger's trying to do, and it looks like he's also made his pit stop, but also a while ago, so really the caution would save them because everyone would come back down to pit road and take tires again, but again, we kind of seen a break in the trend. Earlier in the race, first half, we saw cautions at the tail end of the long green flag runs. We haven't seen that yet. We've had green flag pit stops and still no yellow, so we might go green all the way to the end.
Certainly a possibility, but we'll see what happens here as everyone has pretty much cycled through in their stops, and now it all just settles out and we see what happens.
There is the 23 car, Jake Finch. Rejoined the racetrack back in 18th place. That strategy didn't really work out great for him. He's going to have to pass a whole lot of race cars if he wants to make up some of that ground. Crump and Wright. This is going to be for what I assume would be the race lead with those front two on way older tires. So here's Chris Wright closing up to the tailpipes of Crump. And now, if I'm Crump, I don't fight this, Mitch. We know that Chris Wright has been fast on the opening laps of the run. I would let him go and pass him back later in the run.
That's a great idea. I think if Crump can just hold on to the tires longer, then he'll get it right back later on, just as we saw in the earlier run before the stops.
I'm not sure if that's what's in the cards for him, but that's what I would do if I was in this seat. We'll see if, again, I'm not really a race car driver, though. I'm paid me to talk, Mitch, not to drive, so maybe I don't know if I'm talking about necessarily, but here's Adam Pettit. Again, we haven't talked about him a whole lot tonight. 12th to 8th. It's been relatively drama-free for the 57 so far tonight. Got all the fenders on that car as he goes around Lowry for 7th.
Yeah, solid night, driving up from 12th, now 7th, and just riding around. I suppose the car doesn't look too damaged. Looks pretty clean. I believe we had that little bit of front lifting we saw earlier on the hood, but other than that, clean car, clean race.
Chris Wright, right to the tailpipes, and look who's here. 1, 2, 3, Crump, Wright, Lytle, and does Lytle have a score to settle? We're going to find out. Look at Wright backing out. I think he knows that there might be something coming here. Here comes Lytle. Lap car on the high side. 3 wide for a moment. Yes, they are. Lytle comes up to the rear bumper. Squeezes the 7 into the wall. Now the run down to turn number 3. Will there be payback on the 51? Crump defensive into the 3rd corner.
Rides the outside as he has all night in 3 and 4. Can he maybe get to the corner of the 51?
Side by side as they exit turn number 4. He is there, right at the bottom of the racetrack. If I'm right, I'm backing out of this now. I don't want to be anywhere near these two as they sort out their differences. And here's Leininger. This is all for the race lead here. This is 5 cars going for the race lead. Massey, Leininger, Crump, Lytle, Wright, everybody's here.
This is incredible. It's going to be great to see whether the 12 or the 48 can do anything against these faster cars behind.
Oh, Crump on the bottom, Lytle up top. They're going to touch again, maybe slightly. Leininger goes to the race lead. A push from the 51 to the center of the corner. 2 by 2. Lytle looks up the middle. Door slams shut as the 48 comes down slightly. Leininger to the top spot.
Basically pushing the 48 into turn 1. You're trying to get some kind of run going on the outside against Crump, but Crump held up 2 on the bottom. It's just dead even at the moment. 48 slowing up though.
Yeah, he's the cork in the bottle right now as they come out of turn number 2. 3 wide on the back straight. Leininger goes up high. Crump defensive. Right to the bottom of the racetrack. Door slams shut into turn number 3. And here comes Scott Crump. He goes to the race lead. And Wright's going to follow through for second. An epic battle for the race lead. Look at this. 2 wide into turn number 4. And Wright pushing Crump past Leininger.
Later going past the 12 now of Leininger. Catching back up to the 24. He's lost a lot of ground to Crump sitting there on the outside behind the 48. He's got a bit to make up against this 24 and then trying to catch Crump again. He rides the outside and might have a run against the 24 here.
Big block down into turn 3, a push from Chris Wright. He's getting tired of it. Here comes Lytle way up the racetrack in turn 3, trying to carry speed. Side by side into turn 4, right to the bottom of the racetrack. At the line stripe, Crump will lead just over 50 laps to go. Battle for the top spot here at Charlotte.
It's only a matter of time before Wright loses his tires, though he was one of the later pitters. We've seen him burn the tires off, so pulling out and he's going to clear Crump out at 2, and Lytle's making the move now on Crump.
Here comes Lytle to the inside. Oh, there's going to be a touch. That was really tight into turn 3, but Lytle leaves some space. Crump goes up the racetrack. Through comes Lytle for second. And Wright going to try to drive away while these two settle their differences.
Lytle being surprisingly clean with the 51 there. We'll see if that carries through.
Well, my assumption was that they were upset with each other. Maybe that's not the case, but either way, it's more fun to assume that they are angry at each other as Lytle slips up. Great.
Crump just holding stable there behind Lytle. Just Wright tries to make his way away.
In the background, you see Chuck Sweeting just past Leininger. That's for 4th. Now 0.3 of a second. Chris Wright moving by the 15 car of Dylan Hickey. He's on through. Lytle can now set his sights back on the race lead. And effectively, with Lytle, again, he probably would have had this lead had he not tangled with Crump as they left pit road a little while ago. So Lytle's fought this hard just to get back into second, and Wright was really the big beneficiary from all that drama with a 2.5 lead now with 51 laps to go this time through. So now Wright's goal is just to keep the tires on the car and stay out front now.
That's the tough part. Can he hold the tires better than Lytle and Crump? I don't know. One important thing is Lytle's now ahead of his main leading rival, Crump, there in the 51. So that's one box ticked for the 56, and now he's just got to take the lead back from Wright eventually, and he'll be set to go.
Yeah, I think Crump burned off some of his stuff as well. He's dropping back very quickly as Lytle continues his charge forward. He's got a mission to win, and it's 50 laps from now. The victory in round number 11 of the 2020 ERSCA PristineAuction.com series would be at Charlotte for Tate Lytle in this 56.
Look at that mess. He followed all the way back to 6th, now over 4 seconds behind the lead. That undercut definitely not paying dividends there for the 48.
Off into turn 3. Look at how much speed Lytle carries, and he's arcing it in deeper. The 24 right up against that blue line, but sacrificing exit. Now the 56 pushes up slightly, carries the speed all the way to the wall, but we are going to have a battle for the lead yet again.
See, the 24's tires already going faster, even faster than I thought. Lytle right there on the bumper, ready to make the move when the 24 slips.
And Crump has really slowed down, 0.2 slower than Lytle last time by. As here comes the 56 to the inside. Battle for the race lead again. Lytle fighting for what was his before. He wants it back. To the inside for the race lead. Side by side through turns 3 and 4. Clears him. Lytle the leader. Easy
clear, and he'll pull away from right now, we expect, and pull away from Crump as well. Gap of the line last time was 0.7 between Lytle and Crump, and it stays about there, but it's quite a distance now.
And you hear Lytle pedaling the throttle slightly as he gets back up in front. Now can pace himself. But there's your top 4. Chuck Sweeting, maybe the most interesting of this entire group. He was not involved in any of that scrap a little while ago. Have a check his last lap time here, Mitch, a 31.590. That was a full half a second quicker than, than Chris Wright's last lap, and 0.4 quicker than Tate Lytle.
Yeah, I'm seeing that, and I'm wondering whether or not his tires are going to go off anytime soon. For the time being, that's very fast-paced, and passes the Yowie at the lap car there and closes in on Crump. Let's see what he can do.
Well, I think I'm really intrigued by the Tate Lytle machine, because we've seen him be the best at conserving, but even he had to fight pretty hard there for a few laps. That might have burned it up relative to Chuck Sweeting, who wasn't a part of that, but was also in the top 7 or top 8 cars in the previous runs of the day. So now he's closing in on Scott Crump. This is the battle for 3rd now. You see Wright and Lytle up the road. They're not done fighting yet, and that's going to bring Sweeting right back into the mix. So all Sweeting can do is try to dispatch this 51 as quickly as possible and preserve his equipment for the last 45 laps of this race.
That's the goal, and that's definitely a good point. The Crump and Lytle battle up there at the front definitely hurt their tires, I believe. So maybe the 27 has something for him here.
I'm not sure that Wright has enough to get back by the 56, but he's certainly keeping him honest. Meanwhile, in 10th, how about Vincent Isabella and Kyle Lowry? This is a battle for 10th spot. He's on through. There have been battles throughout the racetrack. There's Joshua Adams and Richard Lafferty for 16th. This has been a night to forget for Joshua Adams. Could have picked up an extra cash bonus for winning all 4. of the special events brought to you by Belly Up Sports, but looks like it's not going to happen for the 95 tonight, unfortunately. So we'll go back to the race lead with Lytle and Wright. Scott Crump and Sweeting now putting pressure on that 51 for third.
Wright is still there, not losing as much as we thought he would. So possibly a little more tires burned off of the 56 there, and might start making moves again here.
To the inside, oh, that got really tight there between the 51 and 27. They both kind of lunged forward through the middle of the corner, but Sweeting's going to have this. I think it's inevitable at this point. He is on through and should have the race lead by the time they get, the third place battle. By the time they get down into turn number 1, there's some slight right rear damage on that 27. He just caught the wall entering turn 3 a few laps ago. I think that's where that damage came from. But with these front two fighting, I'm not sure Sweeting's going to have to do a lot of work at all. Here they come, right with a run.
Right, backing off a little bit into 3. Not quite there, but he's definitely still got speed in the car.
He is coming, and I'm not sure Lytle's got the pace at least as much as he had earlier. He's just feeling the pressure right now, right up to the rear bumper into turn 1. Hole opens, he's going to go for it. Lytle's going to, oh, that was tight.
Very, very close. If that wasn't a touch, I don't know what is. Wow.
You don't try that move every day unless you trust the guy next to you. So I think these two have a mutual trust between each other, but how long does that last for with 40 laps to go?
I don't know, and that's another thing we'll have to find out, I guess, Kyle.
On board the Brave Like White onboard cam with Chris Wright in the 24. He's had a really good night tonight. Started up in third, immediately jumped into the second spot after the issues for Tyler Riggs starting on the front row. There's a bunch of crashes at the beginning of the race that took out a handful of drivers, but now for the race lead, here comes Wright. We thought he didn't have the long run pace. Well, he's got it now to the inside of the 56 for the race lead. 40 laps to go this time through, side by side for the lead.
Got just the nose on the quarter and maybe to the door on the inside. No, Lytle's going to clear him back, so maybe not quite enough left in that 24. We have yet to see. And we see third place Sweeting closing up on these front two as they battle, so he could be a player here in a couple of laps.
I think he's going to be a player pretty soon, maybe even by the end of next lap. There's a lot of lap traffic up the road as well. I think there's Kyle Hanshaw, Josh Adams, Richard Lafferty all up the road. And there's the 87 of Sean Dice again going another lap down. That would put him 12 down to the race leader as they work their way on by.
Yeah, Sweeting closing all the time. He's almost there, just a car length back from the 24, back from almost 6/10 earlier on a few laps ago.
Important distinction. We're within 40 laps to go. We just saw a car hit pit lane. That was the 15 of Dylan Hickey. Now you can make it to the end on fuel from here. Do you pit now or do you wait as we see these top 3 battle?
It's real tough to call. I don't know what I would do in this position, honestly. It depends where you are, where you're sitting. I think if you're in a position to undercut and you're good on the tires, then I think that's definitely an option. Otherwise, if you're feeling good in these tires, then you could definitely stay out and try to go for the overcut or just try to maintain the lead that way if you have enough left in the car. But it also depends whether or not your rivals pit earlier or not. So
Chris Wright almost clearing Tate Lytle, and I think he'll have it now. And Lytle fought valiantly on the outside, but he's going to have to give it back up. This is not something we've seen Chris Wright be able to do earlier in the night. He was so fast 5 to 10 laps after the restart, and then he would drop back. Not the case right now. With under 40 laps to go, he has found himself in the race lead. Chuck Sweeting is behind, but his pace is equalized with everybody else's. Last lap by the quickest car on the racetrack, race leader Chris Wright.
Really interesting to see his turn of pace in the long run here for Chris Wright. Not something we saw earlier on, obviously, but maybe these night lights, this cooler track is helping out his situation.
Sweeting with a big run on Tate Lytle now. He's going to go to the outside. Lytle's okay with giving him that line. I'm not sure he can really do a pass up there. We're going to see him try, though. Sweeting's going to go up to the high side of the racetrack, maybe try a crossover here on corner exit.
A little too wide on entry, couldn't exactly hold it in the 56, but yeah, maybe a crossover coming here.
Wasn't able to carry the speed. But now Wright building a gap. With 35 to go. Still need to make a pit stop for these race leaders. Scott Crump is in pit lane for Scott Crump. Really interesting call here, Mitch. Totally different than the race leaders. Oh boy, Tate Lytle, he's into pit lane. Scratch that from second.
any kind of undercut, Crump was just got covered off by the 56.
What about Chris Wright, though? Now, Chris Wright's under attack from the undercut.
Yeah, for sure. And he's been better on these tires this run, but I don't know if it's good enough to cover off the other two. And we still have Sweeting on track. It'll be interesting to see if he pits.
I'm really curious about Sweeting because he's had a lot of pace. Chris Wright going to skip the pit lane this time through. So will the 27 of Chuck Sweeting. As we have a handful of more cars on pit lane. Tate Lytle is out of 14.1 seconds. Stop Sheen on pit lane. Sheen misses box. Lowry on pit lane. Looks like Adam Pettit's going to drop down from inside the top 10. It's a wild excursion to the pit lane. It's very busy down there right now. Maybe you want to wait for it to clear up a little bit before you come down.
Could be. It depends where you are in traffic. Scott Crump definitely triggering everyone's jump down to the pit lane there. We'll see where this carries everyone out.
Just over 30 to go. Wright leads the way by 0.6 of a second over Sweeting. I'm not sure that there's, look at the 46 a hand shot. That got a little bit tight. I'm not sure that there's an urgency for Chris Wright right now. I think he was confident that he had at least a little bit of a lead over the 56 of Tate Lytle. So he should be okay, but I wouldn't wait too long because I'm not sure you have enough laps left to pull an overcut strategy successfully. You're gonna have to kind of make your stop in because you've laid your bed now. Your major bed now. You got to lay in it from here on out.
Yeah, Lytle is caught in traffic now as well, so maybe that undercut possibly might not work as well as he'd like. Scott Crump
Right behind him
is right there. Yeah.
So, looking at the lap times, though, here's an important distinction. Tate Lytle last time by at 30.8. Chris Wright, 32.1. So already, Lytle has easily made up the time that he had lost to Chris Wright, plus some. So that's a factor. Now you're maybe hoping for a caution if you're Chris Wright. I'm not really sure if this strategy is going to work in his favor here with less than 30 to go.
Yeah, this is the point where you're just pleading for a caution because the guys you're fighting are a lap down. If you catch them a lap down under caution, that is a gold mine for you. But the way we've seen the second half of this race run, I don't know what's going to happen for him. He might have just thrown the race.
The other thing is that you have to make sure that, if you trap them a lap down, that they don't get the free pass. And Lytle's only one spot out of the free. Okay, make that two as he goes by a hand shot, the race leader. But only a couple spots out is Chris Wright. Now he hits pit lane. I don't know, Mitch. He didn't really respond very well to the 56, but he also didn't commit to waiting for a yellow. So I don't know if that's going to work out. Sweeting looks like he's going to try it.
Yeah, he's going to commit to going long here, but the bit of a Ferrari botched strat there from the 24 and just kind of being hesitant, not really making up his mind, and then tries to go for an option, but it's too late for that option. Now he's going to be way back behind the other two.
Here he comes, and Sweeting's going to do the same. I don't know if this is going to work. Oh, Sweeting's in way hot into pit lane. I think he got it slow.
Yeah, Cohen is a little further back.
Nick Massey is in as well. So where is Tate Lytle? There he goes. He's still going to make up an entire lap on Chuck Sweeting. But Scott Crump is 0.2 back. Those two separated by about a lap and a half, 2 laps. Now it all comes down to who's going to play the strategy the best here in these last 30 laps or so. Sweeting is in and off. So he is on the middle of pit road right now. You can see the background. Tate Lytle driving by at what seems like the speed of light compared to the 45 miles an hour on the pit lane.
You're going to have a huge lead on that 27, and unless we get a yellow, that's his fight for the win pretty much over, I believe.
Now, Chris Wright, where is he? You see the bunch of lap traffic in front of Tate Lytle. Chris Wright is now about 5.5 seconds back. That's a really big gap to make up in 30 laps.
It's a huge gap from what was pretty much the lead.
Crump working his way by some lap traffic. He's still keeping Lytle honest as they head down into one. Well, coming in on 25 laps ago, Jake Finch hits pit lane in the 23. Now it comes down to who can just outrun the best. Now, Chris Wright, there's no saving. You have to go. But he's only making up about 0.3 seconds a lap. I just don't think that strategy was the one to play. I think it's the losing strategy unless something else happens. I think Tate Lytle and Crump are going to be your two drivers. You have to watch out for the race win.
All right. As soon as he skipped the pits after these front two pit, then that was his opportunity lost right there. Just hesitated and didn't make the move when he needed to, and that now he's paying the price for it.
Yeah, and I think if the last run was 50 or 60 laps, I think that's a strategy you do play. I think you stay out, you stay out until the end of your fuel run,
sure.
and then you have all the rest of that run to make up on your fresh tires. The problem is this run's too short, so you're not going to get to use your advantage, and obviously you can't wait too much longer because you're going to run out of laps before those tires, before your tires will have a big enough difference to the guys that pit before you. So 25 to go for the race leader this time by, and for Wright, it's a big hill to climb.
Just don't know what's going to happen unless we get a yellow here or a big slow up from the front two, and as they catch lap traffic, they will be slower, but I don't think it'll be enough for the 24 here.
Well, it's still not impossible. Looking at the times, it was a 30.6 last lap. For Tate Lytle, it was a 31.0. So about 4/10 a lap, a half a second a lap. He's, it'll take him 16 laps to get there if he continues at this pace. Now that's assuming that the tires won't drop off at all for either of those two. And we've seen that the older the tires get, the more equal they become. So I think Wright's still going to have a lot of work left. Johnny Thomas from the race lead is going to hit pit lane this time through in the belly up sports Camaro. Quiet night for him so far, not a scratch on that thing.
Interesting camo livery.
And Vincent Isabella, the only other driver yet to pit, will also come to pit lane. So Tate Lytle will take over the race lead right behind him. There's Crump dealing with some lap traffic right now. Liam Sheen on the outside. The 23 of Jake Finch right behind him, and he's through.
Finch a contender early, but made almost the same mistake that Wright did. Just didn't run the right strategy when it came to pit time.
So now let's take a look at the race leader. Here's Tate Lytle entering turn number 3 right now. Where's Wright? Entering turn 3 right now. 3.8 second gap between him and the race leader.
So it has closed. Maybe there is a chance here.
Yeah, it has closed. Again, the thing is, how much of that tire is he using to get there? Will he have enough left to make anything happen?
Lytle pulling out the lead here as Crump gets caught in lap traffic.
There's so much lap traffic. That could be the difference. Look at, Crump throwing a block on Liam Sheen. Hard left.
Wow.
That was really dicey.
What's going on there?
I think there's a little bit of, I would say, miscommunication or frustration between those two. And Sheen's fighting hard. Now this is for, the reason why they're fighting this hard, this is for the free pass here. So this is fair legal game on Sheen's part and Jake Finch. Fighting for the free pass, and that might be a huge difference if the caution comes out. But unfortunately for Sheen at least, that opportunity is dwindling very quickly. Slide of the racetrack goes the 88 of Vincent Isabella.
This is killing Crump's chance at the lead here. Fighting with this 5 car and ruining his tires and losing time.
Yeah, again, all fair for Liam Sheen. Again, trying to stay on the lead lap.
Right.
Unfortunately for Scott Crump, that comes at the expense of his opportunity to run down the race leader.
Yeah, it's now 1.4 the gap, so a little bit of a hill to climb for Crump here. Right now 2.9 behind Lytle, so still closing.
Right, trying to make every lap count. Let's ride on board here for a lap. 20 laps to go this time by. It's a 2.8 second gap. Last time by is still 4/10 better. This would be about a 5, let's see, half a second a lap. Taking about 10 laps to get there. Only got 20 laps left. Look at the traffic in front of him, though, Mitch. This is going to get really dicey, and he doesn't have any time to waste.
Nope. He's got to clear this right away.
Oh, they touched.
Oh, big touch there.
Sheen got hit from behind by Vincent Isabella. Here comes Wright up the inside. You feel like Superman right now. You cannot get stuck behind these two fighting for a free pass spot.
Double wide blocking the track. What can you do against Sheen? Sheen stays there up high, and he's going to clear him out of 4, it looks like.
And
just one more than the 88.
Now, Wright is through. Now just has to focus on the 88 car as they come across the start-finish line.
Pretty clean navigation from the 24.
2.4 back from the race leader.
Still holding that pace. It's really impressive, I gotta say. 2.3 now.
And now Tate Lytle has a car behind him that's actually running him down. That is Jake Finch, who is trying to earn his lap back. Why is this significant? Because Vincent Isabella is right behind these guys that he wants the free pass. So if Finch passes him, that makes this battle very significant. Oh, here comes Crump and Wright around Vincent Isabella. And Wright is stuck right now.
So he's got a pole on Crump, though, as he sits there on the high side. He could have a run down into 3 for the second place here.
He's got it. 2 seconds is the gap. 17 to go.
From the 24. Can he keep this up? That is the question.
I mean, he's done a good job so far. Still 4/10 a lap better. But again, I don't know how much tire he's using and how quickly it'll fall off a cliff in terms of the grip. I'm not convinced until he can clear the pass on the 56. Look at this, side by side in front of him. Finch had just gotten a lap back, the 20 about to go a lap down. This is a pass for position right in front of the race leader. So now he's getting into really heavy lap traffic.
He's going to slow him down and help right out. Right now, 1.7, 1.6 coming around turn 4.
He's flying right now as Lytle gets by, or is working on at least one part of that traffic. That's 12th place Davis Warren. They come on through the start-finish line. Right, 1.5. The traffic helping significantly. Another half-second gain for Wright that time through. 15 laps to go. This time by Lytle has to run, but he's got so much traffic in front of him, I'm not sure how easy that's going to be.
Same thing for Wright, though. Every car that Lytle passes, Wright has to navigate too. So it's going to be, I think it's going to come down to how well these two can navigate the traffic each individually.
Well, they're fighting harder, Tate Lytle, because he's the one that's going to matter when the caution comes out that might give them the free pass spot. So as soon as they get past, they essentially give it up. They're done now, and they'll let everyone else by. For Lytle, though, they're going to fight him.
1 second the gap now. Incredible closing from Wright. You just got to clear these lap cars, and then Lytle is almost all his.
2 lap cars in front of him fighting for position, and that is for a free pass spot. Side by side in front of him, pushing through. The 20 car way slow. Now the hole's going to open to the bottom. Vincent Isbell is going to move over, and now Wright has clean racetrack. 14 to go.
Job.
That was
great job by the 24 on the clearance there.
So patient in a time when he doesn't have any time to give, so that was really impressive. It's a 1 second gap now, 13 to go next time by. Still more drivers fighting for positions in front of him. This time, I think it's Kenny Lowry and Jake Finch for 10th.
Finch possibly on the fresher tires, pulling away. Now it's just between these two, 8/10 at the line. Still closing is Wright.
The sweat forming on the brow under the helmet of the 56. Looking in the mirror, and that number 24 Wingman sports car is growing. Bit by bit. Coming closer and closer to 10 laps to go, and Lytle won't feel safe until he sees the checkers. But I'm not sure he's going to get to feel safe until they get there, because 12 laps to go, and it's now half a second. Wright is on a climb to get there, not only in time, but with time to spare.
See, he can get to him, I think, but can he overtake him?
Out of turn 2.
4/10 now.
Good run down the back straight. Still gaining at 4/10 a lap, so he should be there by next lap.
Of course, now I have air bush to deal with from the car ahead, so might slow him down a little bit, but it appears he still has tons of pace in that car.
Will traffic be a factor still? There's more cars in front of race leader Tate Lytle. 2/10.
That's incredible. I can't believe I dismissed the 24 strategy like that.
I did too. I didn't think he could do it with this few laps left, but here he comes. He's there. A huge run on the race leader. Tate Lytle defends into turn 3. Wright is there. 10 laps to go in the ERSCA Series race from Charlotte into turn number 4. Right to the bottom of the racetrack. Lytle slams the door shut into the quad oval. 10 to go from Charlotte.
This is all gloves off now for the lead. These two cars have been up front all day long, and a little bit of a tap from Wright, maybe. Very, very close.
A bump, a push, but no pass yet for Chris Wright. Now he's going to chase him down the back straight. Will Lytle go defensive or give him the bottom? He's going to stay drivers right off into the corner. Wright not quite alongside. Big drive through 3 and 4 to close up the gap. There's Vincent Isabella behind him, waiting for his turn to go by to get maybe a lap back. Down the front straight, Lytle throws a huge block.
He knows if the 24 gets by him, he's dug his grave, so he cannot afford to let
him. Here he comes, mistake! Up the racetrack goes Tate Lytle. He pushed big time at the exit of turn 2. Wright's gonna drive on by, and from 6 seconds back, he's now dead even with the race leader. Coming to 8 laps to go. Can Wright complete the pass? He will. Power move by Chris Wright. 6 second gap, gone. He goes to the lead.
incredible job from the 24. After we saw him all evening long, ruining those tires later on in the run and just falling back. Now, in the cover of night, he's done really well and 6 seconds back, and now he's still gapping the 56.
Now, Tate Lytle, I have to assume that he's used everything he's got. That might be all she wrote, but what a drive by Chris Wright. We dismissed the strategy, thought he couldn't do it in less than 30 laps. Oh, he did it, and he did it in spectacular fashion. All fair, a little bit of a touch, but it didn't factor into the pass at all. Props to Chris Wright. He's done such a good job tonight. He also ran really well in the Belly Up Invitational race a few weeks ago at Charlotte Motor Speedway, so he's good here. And with 6 laps to go next time by, you see the 88 coming to the inside lane. Vincent Isabella working by, get his lap back. Chris Wright has been really impressive.
Really impressive second half of the race for this 24 car. Lytle's still there, but can he do anything about it?
And the patience is really what has struck me. There were several opportunities where that strategy could have gone downhill very quickly, especially following those lap cars. He could have forced his hand, gone 3 wide, pushed someone out of the way and gotten collected in a wreck, but he didn't do any of those things. He was very patient in line. When he got to Lytle, he had a couple lunges down there that he could have taken the 56 out, but that's not what happened.
Nope, just waited for the 56 to push up out of 2. Easy spot, easy run, and easy pass out of 4.
Made it look easy, for sure. 5 laps to go. Now the reality is beginning to mount. Cash prize on the line for this race tonight. And Chris Wright is not too far away from picking up that prize. Meanwhile, in front of him, here's a battle for ninth. Kyle Lowry and Jake Finch. Finch on fresher tires is going to make this look easy to the inside of the cyan and magenta number 2, and he'll complete that pass.
Now, something big for Chris Wright here is he's currently 20th in points. He's only run 7 out of 10 races so far. If he wins this, he'll punch his ticket into the chase, because he'll be at least 20th in points, if not better, probably 18th or 17th, and he will have won. So that's a ticket punch to the chase, as long as no one else gets any more wins than him in the top 20 in points.
Yeah, and we were talking about this before. What classifies you as a chase driver? Well, if the top 8 in points, and then anyone else inside the top 20 in points that have the most wins, or it's really the top 2 drivers that have the most wins. So 10 drivers total, 8 in points. The next 2, the wild cards, very much like the old NASCAR format from a couple of years back. So Chris Wright could certainly punch his ticket to the season chase at the end of the season, and that would certainly be a very substantial win for him. Again, you're going to have a couple weeks off before we head to Pocono. And again, that's going to be, the Tricky Triangle is always an interesting racetrack, but for Chris Wright, he's got to focus on staying inside the top 20 to keep himself eligible as we get to the final couple races of the season. We are 5 rounds away. After this, we'll be 4 rounds away. We'll be headed to Pocono, Darlington, Las Vegas, and North Wilkesboro. If Wright can win in any of those races, it would certainly solidify himself as a chase driver.
Yeah, currently no one else outside of the top 8 who have won this season are in the top 20. So he'd be the only driver in the top 20 with a win, and that would instantly punch his ticket as long as he stays there.
White flag for the race leader. He's right behind this 3-car battle for 10th. It's Kyle and Kenny Lowry, then Vincent Isabella. And the Lowrys will trade spots. Isabella wants on by. Chris Wright, though, following this chaotic mess, he has plenty of time, a 1.3 second gap just to sit in behind a block by the number 2. As they battle for that 11th spot now into turn number 3, Chris Wright. An unbelievable drive from 6 seconds back on the strategy. Comes out of turn number 4. Punches ticket to the chase. Chris Wright victorious at Charlotte. In front of him, the battle for 10th spot. Kenny, Kyle, and Vincent. This is still battling here. And a push out of turn number 2. The 2 cars going to run wide, side by side on the back straight for 10th spot. Or 11th, excuse me, as they head into turn 3. Isabella up the inside. Neck and neck for a position. Isabella goes on through. 11th
Easy
place. Vincent Isabella. Nice run. But for Chris Wright, what a drive.
Fantastic run. on the final run there. We counted him out completely, but from 6 seconds back, that's the lead and a 1 second gap to boot.
Well, we thought that Crump and Lytle had the winning strategy, and maybe they would have, but Chris Wright was so patient. Remember, Chuck Sweeting did a very similar strategy to Chris Wright. He was battling with Lytle before the pit stops, but didn't have the consistency nor the pace of the 24, and Wright will celebrate in victory lane.
Certainly deserved.
What a drive, what a night. The Wingman Sports Camaro goes to victory lane, smacks the, hopefully it'll still pass inspection.
A bit of a Jimmy Johnson maneuver there.
Let's have a look at the race results at the end of the night. Chris Wright, Lytle, Sweeting, Crump, Pettit, your top five. How about Adam Pettit? We didn't talk about him a lot tonight, but a really calm, cool, and collected night inside the top five.
Yeah, a bit of a silent runner, but good run for him.
Nick Massey ends up 7th after a disappointing tail end of the race after some contact with the wall. Jake Finch fights back for a 9th. And Josh Adams, of course, Daytona winner, back at 18th place. That's not where he wanted to finish. Disappointing nights, though, for a lot of drivers at the bottom of the field. Zach Patton, Strackbine, Gaspar, Campbell, Dorsey, Johnny Parr, Marshall Stanley, Logan Shea. He was upside down on lap number 1. A messy start to this one. Again, we also want to thank, of course, again, Ralph Shaheen for joining us here in the booth earlier tonight. We wish him the best in this uncertain time. We'll be right back for interviews. Stay with us. We'll be back in a few. Welcome back live to Sim TV and the ERSCA PristineAuction.com series. It was Chuck Sweeting that finished in 3rd inside the top 5 tonight, Chuck. Well, tonight was a pretty solid race for you. Started 34th, finished 3rd. Not quite a victory, but that's got to feel like one after the night, especially avoiding those incidents early in the going.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing. My first race in the league other than the All-Star race last week, which was just an invitational. I had to kind of work my way in. So I decided not to qualify, learn the drivers, let them learn me, and it almost cost me there at the beginning. I had to dodge quite a few cars first few laps there, but there was a blast then coming up through the field. It was a really good racing the rest of the way, and congrats to Chris. He did an awesome job, and thanks to Johnny for letting me run.
That last run, I think we saw a lot of differing strategies, and we were sort of doubting your strategy along with Chris Wright's. We didn't think there was enough laps left. How much went into that decision, and did you do any testing to know, what the lap times were going to look like at the tail end of that run, and how confident were you in your strategy at the end there?
Not at all. I didn't even do check fuel run in practice. It was a big mistake, and I waited too long to pit. I think Tate pitted a little bit too early. And Chris just had it just right. I think he also had a really good pit stop getting in and out of pit road. I think he must have done really well because he gained on me. So, yeah, I just kind of screwed up there. But I'll take 3rd. It was a good race. Had fun.
Chuck, thanks so much for joining us here. A really solid run. We'll hope to see you back.
All right. Thanks a lot, Kyle.
Okay. We're going to drag into Scott Crump. He was the number 51 driver, finished 4th tonight. Scott, there was a lot of action out there tonight, including a very hairy moment between you and the 56 at Tate Lytle. First of all, before we get into anything else, walk me through that pit stop sequence and coming up and charging into turn 3, knowing you needed to get by that 56. What happened there? Walk me through it.
We were coming into turn 3 there. I was a lot faster than he was. He just came out of the pits, and I don't know. He just started coming down. I didn't have much anywhere to go but on the apron. Caught it, barely tapped him. It gave me like a second worth of damage to my right front and killed me the rest of the time.
Tonight there was a lot of differing strategies. We saw long runs, short runs, everything in between. But take me through the start of this race. We were talking up here at the booth about how you formalize a strategy, or formulate a strategy, I should say, when you don't really know if it's going to go into a long run or if it's going to have cautions now and then, like we saw in the first half of the race. Did you have to adjust throughout the race, or did you just kind of take it as it came?
Kind of go by how the race is going. So started off with a bunch of cautions. I was really good on the long run. I was killing people on the long run, but every time I caught them, caution would come out.
Scott, a really solid top 5 run tonight. Maybe not quite a victory, but the 51 Supra comes home in 4th. Nice run tonight.
All right, thank you.
Move on now to the driver that came up 1 spot short. It was Tate Lytle in the number 56. Tate, some drama there in the middle of the race, a little bit of contact with the 51. That was a scary moment, but an excellent drive. The strategy didn't quite play out. Walk us through that last pit stop sequence and the run to the end.
Yeah, I wanted to overcut Chris, but once he got by me, I figured my best chance was to get into the pits before him and come out in the lead, and he just caught me about 6 or 7 2 laps too soon for me to be able to do anything about it. And yeah, I don't know what Scott was doing a couple times. He kind of does what he wants and then complains when other people do the same thing to him. So I don't know where he was going with it.
When you look back at this night, a second place, you got to be pretty happy with that. But as you look at your dominance in the first half of the race, do you come out of this with disappointment, or are you okay with finishing second tonight?
I mean, you're always disappointed to finish second. I think that's got to be, I don't know, probably 5 second-place finishes for me so far this year. So, but yeah, I felt like I had him on the long run, and I had 12 seconds of damage from when Scott got into me, and that kind of screwed it up a little bit, but screwed his own self up too. So I guess is what it is.
All right, Tate. Thanks for talking to us. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Race winner of the night was the number 24. It was Chris Wright. The strategy played out in a way that we did not expect up here in the booth. Chris, hey, first of all, congratulations. Second of all, apologize in advance. We doubted you on that last pit stop. We didn't think you'd have time to get back up to the race lead, but you did with a couple laps to spare. Take us through the strategy call and the run to the end.
Well, the run before, Chuck had stayed out a little bit longer than all of us, and he had ran us down a little bit. So when they pitted that early, I didn't want to pit until about 30 to go, and so they pitted real soon, and I just felt like with the tire wear, I mean, we're really tight out here tonight, wearing the right front off the thing, so 5-6 laps is a huge deal.
The track seemed to kind of pick up a little bit more pace in the outside lane throughout the rest of the night, but where did you find the most dominant speed? Was it right against that blue line, or was it up about a half a car width or more?
You want to put your left sides right on the blue line. Like, if you can roll through the corner, like that's what Tate was able to do so good to be good tonight on the long run. He could put his car right down there, almost clipping the apron, and just really get a shot out of 2 and out of 4.
So looking ahead to the chase, I know you're kind of sitting, or before that you were sitting about 20th in points. You got to be top 20 and have a couple race wins to get yourself in the chase. We look ahead to Pocono in 2 weeks. How confident are you that you can stay there and be competitive if you do make it into the chase this season?
Well, I think Pocono's a fun track. I think we got 4 races left, so I feel good about staying there. I had snuck into the top 20 a couple weeks ago and had been just moving up. I missed a couple races early in the season, and once we started running all the races, we started moving up. So tonight was huge, even if I couldn't win, just to get those points, because I'm not way far out of 10th. It's really tight, that 8th to 20th in points. So the win definitely helped. The halfway points, it all worked out tonight.
Chris, congratulations. It was a really strong run tonight. Thanks for talking, and we'll see you next week.
All right, thanks, guys. Thanks for putting on the broadcast. Shout out to Wingman and RRM. They were on the car tonight. Brave Like Wyatt guys. ERSCA for putting it on, and a little shout out to Chairgate. And I drive that car part-time. It wasn't on the track tonight, so that's hate to see it. But thanks for putting on the broadcast.
Absolutely, Chris. Have a wonderful night. All right, Mitch, that's going to wrap things up. 175 laps at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Took a little bit to get the ball rolling, but once it did, it was a blast.
Fantastic race. I can't remember the last time I've watched an iRacing race that good at Charlotte. So big props to all these guys. All these front guys are running really hard all night, really, really close. a lot of great entertainment once things got settled out and we didn't have a caution for the last half of the race. So, yeah, I had a great time.
More of this tomorrow with the Fuel Mission 22 Premier Series right here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And we'll look forward to seeing you there at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks so much for watching. Our next races will be tomorrow night, 9 o'clock, of course, at 8:45 on the Grid Life channel with the Grid Life iRacers Hard Times Challenge presented by Mike's Harder. See you there at 8:45. Then Wednesday, Rodenzo Sports Car Challenge continues from Spa-Francorchamps in Stavelot, Belgium. And then on Thursday, Scars Ferrari Challenge, they head to Imola for their penultimate race of the season. Friday night, Washington, D.C. region action from Road Atlanta. Then Saturday, Outsider Racing League continues with their next race. We'll see you there. Lots of racing on Sim TV. Make sure you're subscribed. If you're not, we'll see you tomorrow night. Have a good one.